You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. We are coming out of the international break. We have a match on Sunday. We have a match on Thursday as well. So we have that to talk about. But over the last 2 weeks, a lot of things happened. We went into the international break with not a great result, a 0-0 draw against Beşiktaş here. Then some news started floating about Talisca perhaps joining Fenerbahçe. And people lost their shit. So here to talk to you about that and a lot more, including the new BJK, or however I'm supposed to pronounce that, super app that's come out. We're going to talk about that. We haven't been able to test it yet. Unfortunately, it's not yet usable for those of us abroad unless you have a Turkish number. You can download it already, however, on the App Store, the Google Play Store. You can go and download the app already, but if you don't have a Turkish number, you cannot use it yet. But we have been told that within the next week or two, that should be remedied. So you should be able to start using that app. Lots of exciting things in that app, which we're going to talk about as well. But yeah, as always, my name is Kaan Bayazit. I am joined live from New York City by my co-host Sinan Schwarting, and my other co-host live from Glasgow, Scotland is Kartal. Kartal, Sinan, guys, welcome to the show. Lots of stuff to talk about, boys. Shall we get straight into it?
Yeah.
So before I'm gonna go down my little list of notes I've got here. For you guys, over the last 2 weeks, did either of you go down the rabbit hole that some fans online clearly allowed themselves to be sucked into the whirlpool of negativity that we've been noticing? Either of you fell victim to that?
I mean, I do have gripes with the bold, but not about Talisca. I'll say that, and not about Brad Friedel, because like we've got nothing to go off of. It's just all hearsay. So, and I've got my own, but those gripes I've already spoke about in the show. You know what I mean? So, and there's obviously like the communication's not been great. So no, I'm not fell down the Talisca rabbit hole, and I don't think I ever will. I mean, I don't want to be insulting to the people that have, but it's going to be very hard not to be honest for me.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, Coach. That's a perfect setup for what I was going to say, because you said you didn't want to be mean, and that's what I was going to say, but now I want to be mean, because I want to be like the counter to that. I mean, honestly, look, here's the thing. If you're on Twitter or whatever app you prefer these days, and you're talking about how we should have Talisca, or that somehow it's like a huge crime for our rivals to take someone like that. First of all, it just proves he's the mercenary that people like I have thought he is for some time now.
Yeah.
And second of all, I really don't want to be mean, but like it's hard for me to take you seriously if you're still asking for Talisca right now, despite the fact that we have not one fantastic 10 in our squad who's way better than Talisca at this stage. But two, if you consider Mucci, who is a more than passable backup as a 10 as well.
Is he better?
No, he's not better than Talisca.
Okay.
But Rafa
I was
is.
just testing you there for a second, because
I'm not that much of a homer.
Hasan Arat yesterday said that I mean, he was asked about the João Mario transfer, and in a very typical Turkish way, I feel like he did the typical Turkish thing of overstating a player. I completely agree with what Hasan Arat said, by the way. Is the essence of what he said is that he is clearly not fully adjusted yet. We hope that he will make that adjustment soon. He's a good player. If he would have said that, I would have been, he is clearly a good football player. I don't think anyone who thinks that Joao Mario is a bad football player doesn't know football. However, is he what we needed him to be? We have said this a million times already. No, he is not. He is very clearly not. Even if he starts playing well and all that, like, he's still not a winger. He's still not that type of player that we needed on that position. But then, of course, Hasan Arat yesterday, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday, he puts a little scoop on top, and it's like, no, it's not just a good player. He's a world-class player, or one of the best players in the world, I think. How
about this? Khan, since you put me on the spot, I'm going to get you back now. You have to admit that Mucci is a more than adequate backup number 10.
I don't think I do have to admit that.
What? Really? So you don't even think he's like a top quality backup, like as a second option?
I don't want to be a hater, man, but like I don't really see.
Saying anything, man.
Sorry.
Your silence is proof that you're a hater.
No.
Yeah.
I just.
I'll say it.
I just don't see. Like, I really want him to be good, and I saw promising things last season. But even last season, when I thought he was playing well, and even this season when I thought he had some good matches, but I think this season has been very difficult for him because he has been played out of position the entire time. And in order to make a fair assessment, you definitely need to see a player in his best role. And I thought, second half last season when he came, he was playing as a 10 for the majority of those games. He played a little bit out on the wing as well in a few matches. But when he did play at the 10, I think that his shots were always really dangerous. But he had a few, it's not like he never gave a good pass or anything like that. But I missed the real vision, creativity, playmaking from him. I don't think that's what he is. And for me, if you talk about the number 10, then I need that. I need that creativity. I need that unpredictability. The way like how Rafa with a back heel suddenly put somebody alone in front of the goalkeeper, and we have seen several assists from him this season where he's just like, I can't imagine seeing Mucci do that. And like, for example, when we very temporarily had Alexandru Maxim, I think we can all agree wasn't special or anything, but he did on a few separate occasions have a moment like that, and that's what I expect from a number 10, more consistently, of course, but Mucci doesn't really have that. So I'm not saying Mucci's not a good football player. I just, for what I want personally, my personal taste in a number 10, he is in that. He doesn't check the boxes I need him to check, But I don't want to shit on him or anything like that. Like, obviously, he's talented, and I'm sure that he can have a great career. I just have my doubts if that's a Beşiktaş, but I've been saying that for a while. But that's of course a big difference from what some players are saying. I would never boo him or anything like that, or I don't think. The fact that he doesn't check the boxes I need him to check doesn't give me the right to boo him, And it's the same for any other fan, I think.
Let's address this comment right here, Khan, because that'll probably put us back on the same page. You see what Özkan is talking about? So he says, I'll read it to you. Howdy. Not saying I want him, but can you give, let's say, 3 strong reasons why Talisca would be bad for the club? Is he a bad player? No. He's 30, sure, but his record, even in his current league, is strong. Mm-hmm. Shall you go first, Khan?
I think the biggest reason why we should not bring back Talisca is because his financial conditions that would be required to bring him back are.
And you mean the contract that he would require?
Yeah,
correct?
so he's on about 12 million a year in Saudi, which is 0% tax, so that's net. That's net 12 million. So it's not, whereas, you know, if you have, for example, like a player that's earning 10 million but he plays in Italy, then you can get away with paying him 6-7 million, you know, because our taxes are really low, 15%. And then the player will still make more money than he did in Italy, because in Italy he'll be taxed around 47%. That's not true in Saudi. In Saudi it's 0%. They do not pay any taxes on their wages. So he's making net 12 million a year. On top of that, Al Nassr, from what I've heard in the summer, we're expecting a transfer fee around 15 million euros. So let's say you give him a 3-year contract. That's 12 million times 3. That's without any bonuses. That's not any. That doesn't include any appearance fees. Doesn't include any win the cup, win the championship type of bonuses or anything like that. So just the guaranteed wages alone would put you down 36 million euros over 3 years. On top of that, you're adding a transfer fee of, let's say, 10 to 15 million. Let's call it 15. 51 million euros guaranteed over 3 years. Let's call it 50. And then on top of that, you're going to have the norm in Turkey is 4,000 euros per point. So that's if you win 12,000 euros on top of that. Let's say they win 30 games in a season. I'm just going to calculate that quickly. Times 12,000. That's another 360,000 euros on top. That's peanuts, of course, compared to the guaranteed cost. But
some of these other figures.
Yeah, no, the guaranteed Talisca, if you bring him for back, that's a guaranteed 50 million euros. I think for 50 million euros over 3 years, I think you can do a lot more. I don't think we need Talisca. I think we have a better number 10 in Rafa. Even back when I remember, because we had these conversations, and Kartal will remember this. Kartal wasn't on the podcast back then, but I remember very vividly having the discussion about Talisca, and that he lacks a lot of things. Like, obviously, the goals he scores are amazing. He is a very clinical player. He's a big match player. He's a fantastic player. I'm not saying he's not. However, you know, when you're playing a number 10, and I was talking about Mucci, about checking these boxes.
I was about to say, yeah, he's sort of more of a secondary striker than a number 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so is Rafa. But Rafa still ticks all the other boxes. You know, he has the creativity, he has the unpredictability, the class, all that. And Talisca has that, but like Talisca doesn't have very good playmaking skills. Talisca isn't a particularly good creator of chances. Talisca isn't a very good passer of the ball, other than, of course, his famous long cross passes, which are amazing. But short passes, I mean, I think Kartal, you've been critical of those more than anyone, I think, in the past, right?
The guy really struggles to play a 5-meter ball across the ground, which me and even you. I mean, obviously it's different on the pressure of a professional pitch with professional defenders, but I'm sure that if either side, like me and you, could probably pass the ball over short distances better than he can, which was really bizarre, man. Because he was doing these beautiful cross-field passes that you were talking about, but when it came to like giving a simple short pass, like so often he'd misplace them. It was a huge deficiency in his game. Creativity, as you said, not good at all. Like, he scored a lot of goals, but he had very few assists for us. Currently in the Saudi League, he's creating 0.64 chances per 90. And I'd argue that our biggest problem just now is when we've got that, well, we can hold the ball, but we're not creating chances with it.
I think he's a very bluntly put, he's a finisher. He's not a creator. And
I have one final point, guys, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I might add the third, since he requested 3, perfect. I think the final piece of that puzzle of why I don't think you bring him in is squad imbalance, right? We have 2 veterans who are not just fantastic footballers, but fantastic characters, right? They're bringing leadership, they're bringing stability, they're kind of showing the younger guys how to do it, how to put one foot before the other every day in practice, and how to work at their game, all that. They're restoring camaraderie in the locker room. You bring in this guy who's a very, at this point, notorious mercenary, who's made it entirely obvious that his priority is getting paid as much as he can, which is, again, not to say he can't be a fantastic contributor in some fashion, right? I'm sure he can score some bangers and do some of the things he's always done, but I think, now that he's a vet, he's and the type of player at an age where other guys are looking up to you, you got to consider the impact on the locker room, and I think we're kind of covered as far as vets go, in that, I think at this stage what we need to be doing, and I think Kartal, you'll agree with this for sure, is perhaps trying to fill out the squad with slightly younger guys who can kind of be here for a few more years.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing about the imbalance that you're referring to, like, if you give him 12 million, like Rafa's on 6, Immobile's on 6, everyone else is on a lot less than that, like, that's going to create problems, man.
Exactly.
Ciro Immobile's got a much better career than Anderson Talisca. Rafa Silva's got a much better career than Anderson Talisca. So how can you justify paying him 12 million a year when these two guys that have had far better careers are on 6? You can't.
Exactly. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. That's exactly right.
The money as well, just like, we don't need a number 10, as we've said. We've got Rafa Silva, who I think is the best number 10 we've probably had since Sergen, right?
I don't think anyone comes close in that position. Nope. Maybe Guti, if you count Guti as a 10, then, but Guti wasn't really a 10, but if you count Guti as a 10, then he was very good as well for a while.
I love Jose Sosa, but it's clear when you watch him that Rafa Silva is just
much better player than Sosa.
Rafa Silva, like, he's got the beautiful flick-ons. He can give beautiful through balls. He can beat guys for fun. The guy can do everything, man, offensively, but he's just lacking that support around him really just now, I feel. Because football is a team sport. You can't do it.
I'll give you one more, Özkan. I think this is a very valid one as well. It's risk. So we all know what Anderson Talisca is capable of, what he was capable of when he was playing for us. But you need to take into consideration, he left us in 2018, right? That's right, 2018. That's right. So he went to China. So for the past 6 years of his career, he has been playing either in China or in the Saudi Pro League. Now, look, I'm not saying Talisca, if he comes back, if he comes back to Turkey, I'm not saying he won't destroy the league like he used to. I'm not saying like he won't be scoring bangers left, right, and center. I'm not saying he won't. However, I think if you're going to invest that type of money, 50 million euros, or anywhere close to it, like, let's even 28.5 million. That's what we invested in Rafa. I think if you're talking those types of numbers, and there are no guarantees in football, I know that. However, there's big risk, and small risks. With Rafa, what did we see? 8-year career at Benfica, a fantastic performer, maybe the best player. At times, the best player from Benfica, sometimes maybe not, because they've had some amazing players over the years, of course. But he's always been one of the top players at Benfica for 8 years. That's the Portuguese league. That's a top league in Europe. So you're getting a really good football player there that is still playing at a very high level, had numbers-wise the best season of his career last season. The season he's coming off of. He's coming off of a career season. And you're putting up against that a player that for the past 6 years has been playing at a very questionable level. Yeah. The Chinese league, look at Alex Teixeira. He had an amazing career at Shakhtar Donetsk, went to China, came back to Europe, came to us. How old was Alex Teixeira? 30 years old? 31?
31. Yeah.
Maybe 31.
Yeah, maybe 31. So he's at the exact same point as Talisca, give or take. And look what happened. He still had flashes. We saw what used to make him a fantastic player, but he couldn't bring it week in, week out. And he struggled physically. Who is to say Anderson Talisca won't be in a similar condition? I don't know about you guys, but the Saudi Pro League is not something that I would consider anywhere close to the top leagues in Europe. And when I say top leagues in Europe, I'm not talking Premier League, Germany and all that. I'm talking Belgium, the Netherlands, Portugal, those types of leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, I think what sums that up the best is Nkudu's had one more goal contribution this season than Talisca has. And he was a player who was criticised big time for us. So I liked him personally, but he was criticised a lot. Bernard Mensah has got just like one goal contribution less than Talisca this season. And he was...
And...
Last season too, I got last season, Mensah had like 14 goals and 7 assists or something. More than Talisca.
If I might wrap this whole thing up with a little bow, here's my final thought to Özkan, because he says, what if he came for a quarter of what he's on? Still a strong no? Yeah, for me, definitely still a strong no.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
A quarter?
You're never bringing... For his salary, but even still, you have to consider that nothing happens in a vacuum, right? You have X amount of money to spend on a player in the off season, right? In this window, we need very specific things. Not just very specific positions, but very specific contributions to the team. Which is, we need creation, we need chance creation, we need someone who can take the ball in the wing and give someone in the middle opportunities with that. I don't like wasting. Not just like one of the slots that we're going to be able to like spend on a player. No, like that would be no matter what. That's blowing our entire winter
but
fund.
Like a quarter that would make him 3 million a year, right? So 3 million a year. It depends. Like I think we are currently.
There's still a transfer fee.
Yeah, of course, there's still a transfer fee, but I think I wouldn't do it simply because of the following reason. The foreign limit is changing next summer, and we've talked about this before, but essentially it's going to be impossible to bring in good foreigners unless they play for like really small nations. So starting next season, essentially you will not be able to bring in Brazilians, Argentinians, Italians, Frenchmen, Englishmen, Germans, all the top nations in the world, because the criteria is any player older than 24 years old needs to have played at least 75% of the international games over the past calendar year. So in what universe is Beşiktaş, Galatasaray or Fenerbahçe going to bring in a full-fledged French international, German international, Argentinian international? For example, Rafa, who retired at the age of 28 as an international, you would not be able to transfer him starting in the summer because he doesn't play for the Portuguese national team. And I think we need to capitalize on the fact that this is going to be the last window in which we are going to be able to transfer players like that. So I am not of the opinion that we need to focus on young players right now. I actually think this January we need to bring in a really good marquee winger. And I don't think we have the luxury to bring in Talisca, even if it would be at a quarter of the cost, because we need wingers, and it's going to become a lot harder for us to bring in a high-quality winger come next summer, because you're going to be limited in who you can bring in a lot more than you are now. Because starting in the summer, we're going to have to start looking at Ecuador, we're going to have to start looking at Ghana, we're going to have to start looking at Nigeria, those types of nations to bring in really good wingers. We aren't going to be able to bring in a starter for the Croatian national team or starter for the Italian national team, all that kind of stuff. Right now, we are able to bring in a top Portuguese player that maybe doesn't play for the Portuguese national team. Or we are able to bring in, for example, the guy we wanted to bring in the summer, Gabriel Angelo. We would not be, well, we would be able to bring him in because he's younger than 24. But I'm sure there's a lot of really fucking good Brazilian wingers who are 25, 26, 27, 28 years old, who don't play for the Seleção, and you simply won't be able to bring them in. So that's why I think we can't be bogged down by stupid feelings of FOMO
Nostalgia.
or stupid feelings of we have to prevent our rivals from signing Talisca. We don't
course.
have that luxury.
It's just stupid anyway. Who cares? We should focus on us, and we don't need Talisca. We need a creative winger. We need a left back, and we need a pivot striker. That's what we need. We don't need a 10. We've already got the best 10 in the league, the best 10 that we've had in years, almost 2 decades. You know.
Yeah, I think I think Rafa is an amazing player, and there's no reason to push him to the wings just because people are desperate for Talisca. If we did not have Rafa, I would 100% be behind bringing back Talisca if the conditions were right, if financially the conditions were right, because I still think the risk is too big to invest 50 million euros in a player that has been playing at a questionable level for 6 years. But if like you were saying, Özkan, if we can bring him in for a quarter, 100% bring him back if we don't have Rafa. But we're in a world where we have Rafa. I don't understand why people are so desperate for Talisca. We have a better player. I really truly believe that. Now, whether or not Rafa is a better goal scorer than Talisca, no, of course not. Talisca is a much more lethal goal scorer. He brings the free kicks as well, which is amazing. But I prefer Rafa. I think you can build a much better team with Rafa as a part of it. And with Talisca, I think you have to build around Talisca. This is something we were saying way back when he was supposed to go to Manchester United. And I think Sinan and I argued back then, I don't really see him going to Manchester United because he's not a big enough star for them to say, I am going to build around this guy. Because Talisca is a very specific player. He doesn't just slot into any system because he is a player you need to build around. Because he is
the system.
The problem is Talisca has deficiencies, which we already addressed, which require you to build around him. You can't just slot him into any team. That's why Benfica let him go. That's why Benfica didn't want to invest a lot in him, because they didn't want to build around him, because they had better players than him, in their opinion. Yeah. Whether that's true or not, that's left to be seen. I think if... Sorry? Yeah, Rafa was...
Was it Rafa? I was going to ask, was it him already?
It was, it must have been.
It could have been.
No, it must have been, because as Rafa had been there for 8 years, and I guess maybe he just arrived or something like that. But
maybe still. Though.
In any case, they chose to go with Rafa over Talisca. And that's another thing.
Which should be telling. Maybe that tells.
Yeah, I think if you bring Talisca, he needs to be very central to your project. And look, at the beginning of the season, apparently, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was given the choice, Talisca or Rafa, and he picked Rafa.
Of course, because he's smart, that's right.
Exactly.
He's a good choice. Yeah, that's a good choice.
So I think we've talked enough about that. Please feel free to add to it.
Chime
give
in.
your opinions.
Add
we
more.
will get to those opinions in a bit, but let's keep things going. Guys, did you catch the Fikret Orman interview? A lot of people were expecting, because he was announced to give an interview last week, a lot of people were expecting him to announce his candidacy for the presidency in May. But he didn't. He did not announce his candidacy. On the contrary, in fact, he, surprisingly to me at least, actually spoke a lot in support of the current board and of Hasan Arat. And that's surprising to me, because he did not support Hasan Arat during the elections. He was actually supporting Serdar Adali, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he,
so did you catch the interview?
I didn't watch it all, man, but I saw some quotes from it. He said some good things. I think he also kind of showed why it went downhill for him at the end. He's a very egotistical guy, I think. Like, for example, he was referring to the stadium and saying, "Oh, I made this," but it wasn't just you. You had a full team around you, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what led to his demise at the end. He was poisoned by the success, but he said a lot of smart things as well. Supported the current board. Said that hopefully the same thing. Basically said there was an operation against him, and they say they're trying to do the same thing to Hasan Arat's board just now, and the Beşiktaş fans shouldn't let that happen. But he did say, but if the Beşiktaş fans want me, I need to be wanted. If I'm wanted, he will come back. But I think he'll only run if Hasan Arat doesn't. But I'm under the impression that Hasan Arat isn't going to run, and because of that, I think Fikret Orman will run. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, that's an interesting
I was having in the back of my mind, is he trying to score brownie points here, maybe, like by supporting the current board when he maybe perhaps already has knowledge of maybe Hasan Arat isn't running? That's been rumored. Yeah. Hasan Arat was also asked about that in the interview in his press conference of the Beşiktaş app or the post press conference, I should say.
The day after, bro. So basically, they had the app release on Wednesday, but on Thursday, which was obviously yesterday.
Yeah.
They done just a kind of Q&A thing with the president.
Mm-hmm. The Meydana.
Yeah, basically the Maidan's like the square. Is normally, so basically it's like everyone, you know how back in the day, like
a town square, yeah.
People would get together on the town square and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think
the town hall meeting or whatever it's called.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they asked him about it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of dodged the question a little bit. I mean, he said, "It's that will be announced within the time that is required or whatever." Blah blah blah. He said a lot can happen between now and then. Something can come up in a person's personal life. So he didn't directly answer the question with a yes or a no, which of course is further putting a little bit of oil on the fire that perhaps Hasan Arat might not run come May. I personally hope he does. I am look. I think there's a lot of things that you can say, or you can. I think there's stuff you can point to and say, okay, look, he didn't exactly tell the entire truth there, or he definitely. I definitely think that sometimes Hasan Arat tells a little bit of white lie.
He's an embellisher.
He definitely embellishes, but I think that's a typical Turkish thing. I think he'll tell the occasional white lie. I definitely think that during his campaign for the presidency, he was certainly embellishing certain things to get votes. I personally think that's fair game, because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's how politics work. Don't kid yourselves. I think getting elected to be a president of one of the big clubs in Turkey is very political. So for me personally, I think that's fair game. Other people don't agree with that, and they really want somebody to be 100% honest. Yeah. Sometimes I think it's not possible to be 100% honest. I just think that, just like when you're the president of a country or the prime minister or whatever, sometimes you aren't able to tell the truth or the full truth to the general public for good reasons. But yeah, some people think that he should always be telling the full truth and nothing but that. But I think that's living in a utopia. I don't think you're ever going to get someone like that. Like, for example, take Bülent Uslu, for example. Like, he's one of those people, I think, who's very adamant of that. But I would really be interested in seeing Bülent Uslu being put in the same position as a Beşiktaş president. I think he would definitely...
it's also just a campaign, right? Like, campaigns are so...
Yeah.
You have to make promises. You have to be grandiose. You have to stand out from other candidates. Mm-hmm. Remember who he was going against? Was it Serdar Adaly? Yeah. Like, the other guy was just being even... Like, he wasn't... The promises he was making were absurd.
Yeah, so, Serdar Adaly was like, I'm going to bring Ronaldo or something crazy,
Yeah, exactly.
He probably would have
in
tried
a relative
it.
sense.
I'm not going to put it past him. Serdar Adaly is somebody who, he's of course still going off of the reputation of being the man that brought Ricardo Quaresma to Beşiktaş. So, he probably would have brought some big players, but to the detriment of the club, perhaps, financially.
All I really have to say about this was that I found Fikret Orman sort of surprisingly magnanimous, kind of being kind to the current administration, tampering down on criticism. I didn't expect that, and like you guys had said, I think because everyone expected him to come out and announce his own candidacy, you expected him to toss everyone else under the bus to sort of make a point. And so that he didn't do that was for me, that's a credit to him. I didn't see it coming. And honestly, even if that is, Hasan Arat leaving and him sort of stepping in as his heir, I think Hasan Arat has implemented certain foundations that you really hope that whoever does come next picks up on and keeps building.
Yeah.
The app, the black wall, there's certain things that you really hope they keep pressing on with, getting back properties that were sort of taken illegally and all that stuff. I mean, although a lot of Hasan Arat's promises are sort of grandiose, they are important to follow up on. There are important threads to keep pulling on. So, yeah, I really hope that they get it together. They don't. I hope we don't say, what is the expression? Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Which is a terrible. I don't know where that expression comes from, but
I mean, he's had Hasan Arat has been in charge now for a year. So by May he'll be in charge for a year and a half, and I feel like he's made good on a lot of his promises already. And I don't think one of his big promises was he's going to make the club debt free. But I think that's definitely something that's a long-term thing. You can't do that in a year's time. That's impossible.
That's for
unless,
sure, grandiose.
Unless you have a...
You said in 4.5 years for that.
Yeah, 4.5 years. Okay, I think then that might even be...
Still grandiose.
That's still I think
still
that's
pretty grandiose. But 4.5 years, so that's definitely a promise you can't, keep him to that. Yeah, he even said 4.5 years. So one of the big promises was the black wall. Right, but that's clearly something that's in the pipeline. Again, that's not something I think a lot of people expect all these things to happen. Bam, bam, bam, bam, bam. They need to happen instantly. The whole black wall thing, that's in the pipeline. That's gonna happen unless the government, the municipality decides it's not happening.
But he did also say he was going to get rid of the boxes in the Capella Tribune and bring back the old Capella atmosphere to that section, and that was just if anything, the prices there have skyrocketed.
Yeah, but that do you think that
Carlito has a good question, guys? I want you guys to answer this for me too. If either of you knows the answer, he says, why is his term only 1.5 years? How come there are elections this year?
Okay, so how it is last year we had what's called extraordinary.
So they were snap elections.
He's essentially completing the previous board's term.
Yeah, exactly.
So he saw out their term.
Essentially, yeah. So
basically, it's going to be a regular Congress in May. The Congress is every 3 years in May. But because the previous board called an early election, he was just seeing out the rest of the term.
And that's the 4.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing happened with Orman when he took over from Demirel, and there was an election a couple of months later or something.
I think it was a year.
A year, yeah, something like that. Almost the same as now. So he took over in, I think, 2012, I want to say February or something like that, 2012. And then he completed the 11-12 season. And then 12-13 was his first full season in charge. And then I think at the end of that season or something, maybe there were elections.
I made Lucy with a extraordinary Congress as well. Remember, Fikret Orman won the election in May and then he resigned in September. And we had an election in October. But obviously, Ahmed Lushebi got almost the full 3 years still because it was only a few months after the election.
Yeah. So that's the reason. What were we talking about?
Congress and
the old Capella.
Right. That to me that kind of felt to me when I
an empty.
yeah,
an
no,
empty
like I think there's certain things like when you're listening to promises and election promises, sometimes you think like that doesn't make business sense. It would make a lot more sense to put the ultras in that black wall section. That's how they do it all across Europe. Why would you sacrifice some of the prime positions in your stadium where you can make most money on your ultras who are notoriously are unable to pay those prices? Everywhere
and are gonna be noisier you kind of want to have them in their own area.
It's super exceptional to have your ultras in your main stands, like almost across Europe, and at every club the ultras are either behind the goal or in like a corner or something. There's a reason for that. So for me during the elections already, that was like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. Like you.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, if you've got no intentions of doing it, don't say it.
Yeah, I don't really understand why he said it. Maybe it was to get Chasha on board or something. I don't know. But then, and then maybe he was thinking, I'll make him happy with this, but then I'll give them something like the black wall later, and they'll be happy with that.
He did mention both, but and obviously it seems a bit weird to have both things at once. But he did say it. It's on like video, and I just feel it's.
I mean, I guess here's a question for. Maybe for UConn, are we a club that has a history of doing that? Is that like a kind of call to tradition for us?
Also, basically, the couple even
is that like a call to tradition for our club? Like, have we historically?
They were always there back in the day. That was their stand. The Kapali Tribune, like Kartal is saying, Chasha was there.
So, I mean, so you understand at least like what he's making a kind of call towards,
well, I think,
right?
I think that was kind of playing on the sentiments of the atmosphere in the stadium hasn't been the same in the new stadium. It hasn't been the same since the old Inonu. I think that's because that was also a part of his campaign, was we want to bring the old atmosphere back. That was also the thing with the new roof and the acoustics and all that, and they did do that, right? They put on a new roof. I think they made some changes for better acoustics already. I don't know if they're finished with that.
They were going to use like a curtain. You know how there's the gaps between the roof and the stand?
Yeah, where you can see outside.
So they were going to get this material that is just curtains just to come down, and they were going to, like, the way these are, they come from France. This material is supposed to be really good for acoustics. Basically, the sound would just bounce off it and come back into the stadium, the sound waves. But unfortunately, they didn't get approval from the part of the government deals with that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, they wanted to do that, but they didn't get approval. But obviously, the roof was changed.
Yeah. So I mean,
obviously, the new lights as well.
True. And the new lighting system that's only just been placed in. I mean, it only just went into effect the game Özcan went to the Kasımpaşa game, exactly. That was the first time that the new lighting system was. So I think they are ticking off the boxes of a lot of these promises that they made, and I don't see a reason. Like, I feel like if you now in May would oust Arat, you essentially axe like all the projects they are working on, and people. I think people are just so impatient. Like, I think everyone expected Beşiktaş the basketball team to merge with the Başakşehir College.
That was a promise, and it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, but maybe it'll still happen down the road. I'm not sure. I think another
But like that's not like a. You're not gonna be like, let's get this guy out of here. He didn't make his promise like about the basketball. You know what I mean? Like, this is my biggest problem with the whole narrative right now is people are basically hitting the eject button, right? And I don't really understand what has he done to merit that. We're in a good position, and I think ahead of schedule to some extent.
People want instant success. They want instant everything.
I don't think you can say we're in a good position in the league or not.
Yeah, but that's a moment in time, and the season is still long. And even if this season doesn't end good, like, it's a longer term thing. Like, we're in a rebuild. This is a rebuild season.
Yeah.
And some people, like for example, Özcan will say, well, yeah, but then why do you sign Ciro Immobile and Rafa Silva? They're short-term transfers, but I don't fully agree with that.
I do agree with Chiro especially though, because there's no guarantee that he's going to be good next season. Like, we don't know.
You can see that he's still very fit. He doesn't look like an old player. You know what I mean?
Also, Cartel, you know what I think could influence how you view it is, like, they've already said that a priority will be getting a backup striker in this coming window. And so perhaps, you know, you see someone who you're like, okay, like that's someone who, when Chiro does hang it up or make whatever next move he makes, whether it's at the end of this season or ideally maybe at the end of next season, I think we can get at least another season out of him. I mean,
sometimes it goes quick, right? Like with Quaresma, it felt like he went from still being really good to being over the hill in 6 months. So you don't know. Maybe that happens to Chiro as well. But how many Italian players over the years have gone and still lit the world of fire until they were 38, 39? You know, Del Piero, Di Natale, Totti. So many. Like those Italians have good genes, man. Even though they smoke like bastards.
Look at Tony, kind of.
Who?
He's like him, Tony.
Luca Toni.
Luca Toni. Exactly, yeah, Luca Toni. Like
very comparable to Immobile because he was still like a very good striker until he was like 38.
Yeah. So who's to say?
Didn't people play Inzaghi? Right, he played for
Inzaghi played like a lot of these guys. Like a lot of Italians play really long because despite the fact that they smoke, other than that, they train hard, they work hard.
So well.
Maybe I think with Chiro, it's all about getting him in. You know, I've been hammering this one to death, but like we need to give him chances, and we don't create chances for him. And maybe he can help bring in a player like, you know, like Domenico Berardi, for example. He could play a role. Like I don't think we have a chance because I think he's gonna go to a big Serie A club. But if there is a slim chance, I think you have to try. Because if you can get a player like that, and then you have two players of that caliber, Rafa and Berardi. If you can have two players like
with
that,
familiarity a
that.
little, yeah.
A big problem that the fan base has with the board is they feel like the board hasn't defended the team against the TFF and the referees.
What could they have done more other than maybe beat up these refs and lock them in a room or something? I mean,
like, these are things like I feel like no matter what happens, who comes, I think we'll still get fucked over just because we're Beşiktaş. That's what I think.
And, you know, our fans have this tendency of talking out of both sides of their mouth. Because on the one hand, we got to be complaining more. But on the other hand, when Fener and Galatasaray do it, we're making fun of how they're such babies and they won.
When has Beşiktaş not gotten...
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point of view. But I'm just saying what the point of view is of the fans.
No, yeah. I'm not attacking you, Cartel. Sorry, guys. I'm not attacking anyone for that matter.
Like, for example, one thing people are annoyed about. Too much of this Pepsi Max, man.
I had too much cola. I have to go take a wicked whiz, but I'm gonna hold it.
Hold it. Hold.
What it is, man, is like, for example, see after the Galatasaray game, they said that we're going to make sure that Arda Kardeşler's whistle's hung up. But it's been said now that he'll be given a match next week. Like, people are annoyed about that. And I'm not looking, and this isn't my point of view, but I'm just saying this is.
I understand.
But there's one thing that I've not liked, Can, and we had a bit of a debate about this in our group chat the other day. It's like Hasan Arat always said how we're going to be run like a professional company, and he's referred to how we have like 20 scouts and scouts in 20 different countries all over the world. But the fact that if we're meant to have this really professional system, I don't like the fact that we're going and asking Arieja, a pundit, for lists of players to buy. And I also don't like the fact that he's fucking saying it on air. Because I feel like that's quite embarrassing for us. Like, even I don't think they should be asking him. We should be using our 20 scouts. We should be using the people in our club, the professionals in our club, to decide who these players, who we want, what kind of player we want, what profile. Get a list of players in that profile and maybe take that to the coach, or take it, or Brad Friedel makes the decision. Whatever you want to do. I don't think we should be going to pundits asking for lists of players. I don't think that goes hand in hand with the professionalism.
But the way I understood it,
so I don't like it being aired on. Even if you are doing that, I think it's fucking embarrassing that guy's going on his YouTube channel and saying, "Yeah, the Beşiktaş president is asking me for a list of players."
yeah.
Like,
What is happening? I didn't even hear this.
Did he say that he's asking him for a list of players? Because what I like, the things I read was that Hüseyin Yücel asked him for his opinion on Ismail Jakobs and his opinion.
yeah, from what I understood, Khan, is he gave Alieje gave them a list of 4 or 5 left
Did
backs, and I
Alieje
thought-
give him the list, or did they give the list to Alieje? Because that's a difference.
From what I recall, when he said, "Oh, the one I liked the most," they said that we liked Jacobs the most. Hold it there, but I'm going to go back and have a look at it.
So
We'll come back to
so there's this pundit in Turkey called Alieje. You might know him, Sinan. You might have. I mean, you undoubtedly have read his tweets, like his quotes and stuff.
Is he the headband
He's
guy?
the guy with the beanie on. Yeah. So
Okay.
He's a Beşiktaş fan. Has been for a long time. I personally think he has good taste in players. I know Kartal and Özcan aren't so fond of him, mainly because of something he said about Musrati after the cup final, apparently.
Okay.
But then we actually looked it up, what he said, and it was far from as bad as they recalled. But anyway.
Still not right, but it still came across that he had a bit of an agenda. And
I know.
I mean, he said in a game where we all agreed Musrati was the man of
but
the
we
match.
look. What do we look? Let's be honest, Kata. When we look at Musrati, what makes us think he played a good game? Oh, he gave a good pass. He did this. He did that. He did that.
His ability to dictate the tempo of the game with his passing.
But what is Musrati? What's his position?
He's a number
He's
6.
number 6, and in that game, defensively, his stats were really bad. You can agree with that, right? But that is,
They were mediocre.
but that's something that doesn't really like. If you're looking at a game as a football fan, and you see a player do those things, and you're like, "Oh, he had a great game." You don't really pay too much attention to the fact that he barely had any recoveries. He actually had 7 recoveries in that game, so that's pretty decent. But like, he didn't have a single challenge. He lost most of his duels. He lost both on the floor and on the air. Stuff like that. Like, that's something that doesn't really, you don't pay that much attention to that. Like, that's not something that stands out. But a flashy long ball over 50 meters, that's like, wow. Anyone can see that. That's impressive, you know? So I feel like, I mean, you say he has an agenda. I just think that Alieje has a certain, boxes. Like I was talking about earlier with Mucci, he has a certain amount of boxes that a defensive midfielder needs to tick for him, and Musrati didn't tick those, like the boxes like that. For example, I think one of the things when people think about a really good beast of a midfielder, then they think Stefan Appia, for example, and that's somebody who dominates. Fred last season, he's not playing that great this season, but Fred is somebody that completely dominates the midfield. You know, I think that's maybe what they were hoping for with Musrati. But the thing with Musrati last season is he wasn't 100% fit. Now I think this season we are seeing more of him. Like you've said this, you've mentioned this many times yourself on the podcast. We're seeing more of him defensively really contributing now as well. So he's coming more into his own. But Musrati clearly need a little bit of time to settle. And yeah, I think we all thought he had a good game in the cup final. But like
we said he was man of the match, we all said he was man of the match. But this guy said he wasn't very good, but he wasn't very bad.
Yeah, he wasn't.
We just kind of said all right.
Yeah, he wasn't very good defensively. He was very good offensively. So he's a 6 at the end of the day. So,
but Pirlo was a 6 as well. In his later career.
No. Pirlo played deep in the midfield. He was not a defensive midfielder. He was a playmaker. It's not the same thing.
Anyway, I've got that.
I mean, look, guys, we're splitting hairs on. I as a pure neutral on this matter, because I only know him as the guy with the funny, hat selection. Yeah, I don't think it's worth spending spending too much time on like whether he's like that legit or not. At the end of the day, though, Cartal, I think like him getting a list of players or whatever, like it doesn't sound. This all sounds like kind of manufactured drama, and I honestly feel that like just we've had too much time off of Beşiktaş with this international break, these 2 weeks. Has everyone kind of just like stirring up the pot and cooking up all these like there's all these just conversations that probably don't really need to be had, and I think if we had football to be talking about, we probably wouldn't be having the bulk of them. But I don't want to.
I think what Cartal,
we don't need a civil war over
Aliyeji, guys. Obviously the fans online they go completely apeshit, but I do think Cartal has a very fair point. Is that we expected the club to be more professional under the current leadership, and there's a lot of things that could be done a lot better. For example,
well, for me, the main thing is this Yücel fellow who keeps running his mouth, right? I mean, we saw from the outset that he was kind of preventing a degree of professionalism.
I don't think he has been running his mouth, at least not directly. I think he might be feeding certain news or whatever, but that's a different story.
Well, now, I meant
like for example,
when
the club's communication, like for this whole app thing, which we're gonna talk about, like. We knew it was gonna launch on Wednesday, but like the entire day, like all the socials of Beşiktaş, radio silence. The event was half an hour underway, and then they started tweeting about it. Like stuff like that. That's not okay. That needs to be done a lot better. Özcan, Cartal's brother, has been heckling the fact that they don't consistently announce ticket sales. And I think it's very important to do that because people who have a limited budget, who can only afford the cheap tickets, it's very important for them to know the moment those tickets go on sale and not, 12 hours after they have gone on sale, because then all these cheap tickets are gone already. Communication on that type of stuff is really important. So in that, I definitely think in terms of communication, social media, all that kind of stuff, that needs to improve. They need to hire proper professionals to do that. The people who are doing that right now are not doing a good job. They should be fired. They're not doing a good job. It's simple as that.
But I wonder, is that outsourced? Like you probably hire a social media service?
No, they have people. They have people at the club who do.
Maybe they need to outsource.
There's this one guy that has been one of the. He's been targeted by a lot of fans because he's a Fenerbahçe fan, and he's actually doing a lot of the club's social media stuff, and he's been targeted quite a bit. And initially I was like, I don't really care if he's a Fenerbahçe fan. If he does a good job, I don't give a fuck. But he is not doing a good job.
But apparently he's not.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's doing a very, half-assed job, and I think then there's...
Maybe you
what's the point to keep that guy on the payroll when you could have... Look at Haber Cartal. Look at
those. Well, the funny thing is, can't see the guys were actually running our social media during the first couple of years that Ahmed Nursevi's stint. It was those guys that ran our social media, and I think at that point they were doing a brilliant job. Yeah.
What happened there? Then?
Maybe they've gotten complacent.
The first 3 years
they don't do it anymore.
The first 3 years under Nursevi. In fact, I don't think it was the first 3. I think it was between 2020 and 2022.
Yeah.
And a guy called I think it's Burak Khan.
Yeah.
Suresh, I think.
Yeah, Burak Khan. Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah. They done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I thought the stuff on the YouTube page was brilliant. The announcement videos for the signings were brilliant. I thought they done a phenomenal job. But since then, since they left and after the 2022 summer, I think it kind of went to shit.
Why did they leave?
I think it was just disagreements, and they didn't get the freedom they wanted to do certain things. But going back to what I was saying about the thing about Aliyeji, it was definitely him that gave the list. I've got the statement here. He says, Aliyeji said, I was talking to Hüseyin Yücel, and he said to me, Ari, you've wrote 4 or 5 I'm saying Solveig left backs. We liked Ismail Jacobs the most. Would you vouch for him? He says, I don't know because of his injuries, but in terms of a player, I'd vouch for him. And he said, I said the exact same thing to them about Berardi. So it is him that gave them the list. As I was earlier,
it sounds like it was sort of unsolicited, though, right? Like he just gave them some information.
I think it was definitely solicited.
Yeah, because if you
Why?
I don't know how much you kind of follow these things, but see when they had the opening of the restaurant in the stadium, Hasan Arat personally introduced Van Bronckhorst to Ari Eje and referred to him as a very important person.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly they really give Ari Eje a lot of value.
Yeah, but that's fine. Because I'm not somebody who watches Ali Eje's streams or whatever, but I've been reading his opinion pieces and all that. I know you and Özcan when you Özcan called him an unserious pundit.
I can't comment. I don't watch him.
Yeah, that's the first time I have ever heard anyone say that about Ali Eje. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him before Özcan, so I was really surprised. I even have a friend who's a Galatasaray fan who thinks Ali Eje is great and who has great taste in players and eye for talent. I don't remember the names of the players, but I've seen Ali Eje write about players who play like at shitty teams in the Belgian league, where I'm like, how the fuck does this guy know these players? Like, does he watch every game in Belgium or something? Like, I genuinely think that Ali Eje is a good resource. Now, of course,
and
you
look,
should have just a second.
It's a bad one.
But also, guys, maybe he's just like a guy who has a few ins in the club, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, toss us your
He's a
opinions."
big
I mean, it doesn't
Beşiktaş
mean
fan.
he's like the end all, be all. Like, it doesn't mean they don't have scouts cartel or that they don't have tons of other ideas. But obviously, you're hearing from this dude's perspective. His job is in some capacity to promote himself. So he's perhaps overselling like the significance of his list.
Maybe.
But at the same time, if you run a club and you know a guy who knows a lot about football, you're like, hey, what do you think? Give me some ideas, toss them by. And again, it doesn't mean that like you run into the organization and put the list on the wall and like you put a golden plaque around. It's just I think perhaps we're overblowing this we're turning this into more of a story than it needs to be.
But I think that the main thing is that if you're confident in your scouting network, you have X amount of people on payroll, then I mean, look, if you think Ali Eje is that good, you should hire him.
Yeah.
Put him on payroll. But you shouldn't say we have 20 scouts around the entire world and we have this system in place and then you shouldn't still be going to Ali Eje for his opinion. I think you can do that on a personal level, like if it's Hussein Yücel is a good friend with Ali Eje, or if Hasan Arat is a good friend with him, you can still ask him for his opinions. That's fine, but like, you
don't think that's what kind of happened?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Because for me, that's very likely what happened, and then he's selling it as like, I'm an insider, like I have access, and so of course he's gonna kind of right. We were just talking about how Turks like to, embellish what their role is in certain things. Like it's entirely plausible that he's promoting himself in this way by kind of being like, look, I gave him this list, it's super important, and I mean, Yeah. Maybe it is from like one individual who's his friend on the board. It doesn't. Again, I don't know that this is like a make or break news story that we should like because of this we gotta like fire these dudes and bring in a new board. Like
of course.
Maybe it's
who
like
do you
not
think? Who do you think
great.
fed Rashid Ghazal to the board? Like
agent. He's agent probably.
No, that's probably Ali Eje. Anyway, I'm gonna let you guys talk about Brad Friedel and the backlash that's come on him. The backlash that's come on what's his name? Chad Gomez, his one of the new guys who's part of the scouting team.
Oh,
I think.
Tab
Ramos. Chad
Tab
Gomez.
yeah.
Chad Gomez is his new name.
That's great.
No, but like a lot of backlash on that, and simply because they're American. Go boys! I'm gonna let you talk. I'm quickly gonna go to the toilet because I really have to pee.
Yeah. I mean,
so Kartal, while you're on the big screen, tell me what the heck is even going on. I haven't been on Twitter in weeks. So.
Yeah. So basically, people are claiming to know things about the relationship between Canshackle and Brad Friedel, and allegedly there's been dodgy things happening. some sort of corruption that apparently, if it was known to the full fan base, would call for resignation. But I'm not going to comment on something when I don't know what it is. And I think these people, Barretoslo being one of them, and I'm a fan of Barretoslo in general. I think he's a good guy. I think he actually does want the best for the club. Obviously, he's heard something that's angered him. But I think you either say what it is and back it up with proof, or you just keep your mouth quiet altogether. Because I think if you're mentioning this and that, but you're not giving any proof, you're not actually saying what it is, you're just leaving it open to people's speculation and their own interpretation. A lot of the time in these kind of scenarios, people are going to be, whatever has happened or may have happened or allegedly happened, because we don't know if anything even has happened. People are just going to, when you leave people to their own imagination, people are going to think, the things people are probably going to think is a lot worse that's maybe allegedly happened, you know? So I don't like that. I think in that situation, if you're being told something, you either come out and say it or you don't say anything at all. I don't like this, we've heard such and such, these guys are... but I'm not going to say it to protect the club. But like, that's just bullshit, man. Come on. If you're really protecting the club, you wouldn't say anything at all. You just keep it quiet.
Exactly.
It also sounds a little bit like shameless promotion in that, like, oh, I can't talk about it, but it's on the, it's just burning a hole in my mind. Like, so people are gonna inevitably be logging in, watching your stream. Like, is he gonna spill? Like, there's a degree to which it's like very attention seeking. That again, like you said, if you have the information but you can't reveal it.
Don't talk
What's
about
the point
it,
of even... Yeah, like...
I think people see it as like he's using that as a way to kind of push the board into doing better. That's how my cousin sees it, for example. Because me and him were kind of debating it the other day.
It sounds like someone who's very loyal to him. Which is fine, man. Everyone has their own favorite media personalities. Like, I
like the guy. I don't think he's normally got any bad intentions, man. I think he's... I
don't know. Like, it's funny hearing, like, a lot of this episode we're talking about, like, this guy Ali Ece'er, that guy Bülent Uslu, and like, for me as non-Turkish speaking Beşiktaş fan, and not just that, but like, I've actively decided to like not be as online as I have previously, because the world is dirty enough. There's just so much bullshit going on over there, and I'm trying to be productive at this particular moment in time. But it's so easy to ignore all of this garbage and like to not know any of these names really, or like of course I think most of these guys, if I saw them, like, oh, I know that guy. I remember his sort of wacky opinion about this or that, but to watch Beşiktaş fans like tearing each other up online about this stuff, and not even just Beşiktaş fans, but then you had that scene from the Congress. Was this after the last episode? By the way, guys, you can hear my voice. For those who missed me last episode, you can hear my voice is still kind of raspy, but there was almost like physical confrontations. Like people are getting so worked up about these like subplots that like you really don't have to care that much about at the end of the day if you really love the club. Like for me, I wish so badly that we had some football to talk about rather than and which is not to say that we shouldn't be here talking about it, because it is obviously like it's actually getting pretty heated in some corners, but it's in a way it's a shame that people are kind of
but
going to war
people
over
are
these types of
creating conspiracies everywhere, man. Like, now this Tab Ramos guy is coming in, and I read an interview with him today or something like that, some quotes today. I think Ömer actually posted them in our community, and like this seems like a good dude with good philosophies. Yeah, and he has a really good reputation. As well.
He's one of the classics.
So
he was part of that U.S. national team that essentially put the sport on the map. When the World Cup came here in '94, I want to say. No, I mean he was a good guy. He's like, there are certain characters on that from that team that have become media personalities and that are really abrasive, and some people hate.
Lalas. What's his name?
Yeah, I like the Lalas, and
Yeah.
there's a
But he's-
a bunch of
But
personalities.
because he's American,
he stayed above that.
it's immediately, oh, it's Brad Friedel bringing in his friends, giving them jobs, getting them paid, and
Of
stealing. And it always goes to stealing from the club. That's what it always goes to. But like, look, dude, like, for example, Friedel, he is on payroll. He is gonna get paid. He probably has financial incentives behind certain things. That's how these contracts are constructed. Like,
Exactly. In fact, his contract, even more, I think we found out, is more contingent on a performance than right.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
so-
I think Hasan Arat literally said something along those lines, like that Brad Friedel's contract is performance based. So, like, if he sells someone, he gets paid. If he brings in, I assume if he brings in somebody, he gets a cut as well. Like, but that's, you know, but how do you think that works with other sporting directors? They have like, he's not a sporting director, but like, you know, like
No, and they have a storied career together as players. They've both stayed they've stayed clean reputationally by doing pretty interesting stuff in the background of football and development. So it's kind of farcical that people are constructing these conspiracy theories about this, because like all you can really do is conspiracy. Like you have so little information to actually work from. You know what? I don't really know what these people.
Well, the people, I think Buretto's been told, he's been given some sort of information. That's why he's saying what he's saying. But in my mind, if you know something,
either say it or don't. You know,
say what it is. Exactly. You say what you say it, and then we can, in an ideal world, you'd prove it. You'd have some sort of proof.
I think it's a lot more damaging to say, oh, there's this terrible thing, but I can't talk about it. That is a lot worse, because that allows people's imaginations to go wild.
To run wild.
Exactly. And that is a lot more damaging than actually coming out and saying whatever it is. Either you say it or you shut up.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying to Sinan when you were on.
Yeah, I heard.
And it's especially, you know, like this is the thing too, because we've got, you know, in our various group chats, people who claim to be insiders, have this knowledge or that knowledge, and they have these connections and those connections. And the only thing that I've learned from that experience is that your sources have agendas typically. They're sometimes people who are going to run for president. You know, there are so many things going on in the background that if you might not even be aware of the agenda your source is propagating. And in fact, your source might not even be aware. You know, it might go back a few steps, right? Whatever it might be. But there's just so much of that going on. Yeah. I'm so weary to buy into anyone's conspiracy theories at this point, especially if they're not actually giving you information that's well backed up, that like with proof, right? Like, especially in this day and age, like, no, man. Like, I think we've all seen what misinformation can produce.
I'm not gonna use.
So,
I'm not gonna use an example of anyone that's on the board right now, but somebody that was on the previous board, Serhan Setinsaya or something like that. He was someone. He left the board before everything went to shit, because he clearly had ambitions to still run in the. He even said that in interviews. And then he went on a media tour, and he started talking about he wanted to bring Sergio Ramos and this and that, but he wasn't allowed to. And he's been like, and that's clearly somebody who, even before he resigned, was feeding stuff to certain people in the media for him to look great. Like this whole saga of Sergio Ramos, he was constantly putting news out there, pushing news out there of him being the guy wanting to bring Ramos. And of course, like a section of the fans really wanted that. And then, you know, he was also, you know, painting other people in a bad light because they were blocking it and whatnot. Like, I'm sure that happens now as well. Like, unfortunately, in the way that the socio system works, there's a lot of people who are on a board but who have ambitions to be something else. Like, for example, back when Yildirim Demirören was president, Serdal Adali was the strong man behind the scenes, the guy who got the Quaresma transfer done and this and that. He pumped. his own money into the club. That was also, known by the media, written in the newspapers. Everyone knew it. That's why, to this day, Serdar Adali has a strong support among the fans, because they think he will bring big stars, Then you had the Fikret Orman board, and there was people there as well. Erdal Tornolare, for example. Ahmet Nurçebi actually came out of that looking quite good, and that's why he later became a president. Then with Ahmet Nurçebi, you had Emre Kocadağ. Remember when we didn't have a transfer for like a month, but then suddenly the news came into the media, Emre Kocadağ has stepped in and is going to take over and is going to start doing the transfers, and then some transfers started happening. But that's also somebody trying to profile himself for the future, because Emre Kocadağ has ambitions to one day become Beşiktaş president. Now you have Hüseyin Yücel, who is trying to put himself in a good light. And he did that in the past as well with the Kagawa transfer. He was actually the person who funded that when Orman was still in charge. So Hüseyin Yücel has been building his reputation. Yeah. So there's always people with agendas. Like, I think Kaan Şakul, for example, maybe that's somebody as well that has an agenda. I'm not saying he does, but I'm just saying that it's a possibility. There's rumors that there's division in the board, that there's a camp Yücel, a camp Şakul, or whatever. So there's those rumors. So you always need to be careful with news coming out, because that is possible that if there is division, I'm not saying there is, but if there is, it is always possible that the other side of that division is deliberately putting news out there, feeding news to, for example, a guy like Bülent Uslu, telling him, there's this horrible thing that's happening behind the scenes, but you can't tell anybody, but maybe, drop hints here and there or something. Like, I'm just saying, people who have reach, who are in the media, who have influence, like Bülent Uslu, sometimes knowing or unknowing, they get used by other people to benefit their agendas. I myself have had multiple agents in the past reach out to me to try and push certain names and linking them to certain clubs in Turkey. And I tried to explain to them, look, I don't work for any Turkish newspaper, so I'm not really sure.
You're barking
up the wrong tree here. I'm sorry, but I've had guys from Argentina, for example, try to get me to link players to Turkish clubs just to get their names out in the media and stuff like that. Like, it's a really weird world. So
yeah. And see, my honest opinion is that I do think that there is that division in the board.
It's possible.
I think there is a Camp Şakul and a Camp Yücel, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Camp Yücel that's feeding the news about this stuff, that because Kaan Şakul and Brad Friedel are working together very closely, allegedly. So I would be surprised if Camp Yücel that's feeding that news out about what Friedel and Şakul are doing. I wouldn't be surprised
It's
at all.
possible. I don't know. I don't want to make any accusations, because this is complete hearsay. This is complete assumptions on our part. We don't know anything.
Yeah, but it's just my gut.
Yeah, that's just a feeling you have. And I wouldn't be surprised. I also, it's possible that's complete bullshit. But, we're saying that, this is our feeling, our
we're theorizing.
This is not a fact or anything like that. And we're not just saying that not to get sued, because that we don't have enough people watching the show anyway for them to bother with that. But I mean, I think the difference is we are very honest about that, and some people, especially in Turkish media, I think they have certain theories like we do, but rather than frame them as such, they frame them as, I heard this, and they kind of put it in a different light. They make it seem like it's a fact, Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that going on in the Turkish media.
Look, I think we have to also acknowledge the fact that we're in a new media sphere, right? And traditional media had marketing departments, and like in this day and age, it's such an individual process. You have to market yourself. You have to promote yourself. Right? There's so much like doing things in a certain way to garner as much attention as possible and to prolong that attention so people keep streaming and subscribing and liking and trying to sort of hang on your every word to see if you'll reveal the big secret that you're kind of dangling out there. And so you got to take it all with a grain of salt in this day and age, right? Like, so much of the information we're receiving is being curated through that process. And look, I'll say like, subscribe, and follow us for the sake, but like, genuinely, and I say that jokingly because like that's so clearly not what we're about, right? Like, we're here as like three bros who are trying to like talk about our favorite club, and in the process, because of the nature of how we've been doing it, for how long we've been doing it, it's become a fun means of informing other fans of what's going on, and we've got a little community, and I think we've been fairly genuine in how we've gone about this, but that's not the case for a lot of these people we're talking about, and I really think, so much of what people are saying is done with that intention. So I don't know. I think you gotta. What else do we have to talk about? We have a few subjects, and I have 5 minutes.
Before that, I want to get to a comment here. M. Sarper just wrote that we should add a join button to our channel. We can't do that until we reach 500 subscribers, and
oh shoot, we're getting there. Yo, come on, subscribe.
I think we also need to have like 3,000 hours of viewed or something over a year's time. So I think somewhere, once we're a year in, I think we'll be able to add a join button. But like, you can just actually go on patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast and you can join our Black Eagle VIP there. And then you'll gain access to our VIP podcast. You'll gain early access to our videos and all that kind of stuff. And also, if you want to join our community, just let me know, Sarper, and I will get you a link to our WhatsApp community. You can join there. Actually, if you become a Patreon member, there's an invite link on Patreon as well, I believe. I think that's how our latest new Patreon member, Nathan Davies, actually managed to join the WhatsApp channel. So
hey, I didn't know it was a Patreon, Nathan.
Yeah, welcome to our Patreon, to the Black Eagle VIPs, Nathan. Your name has been added.
Actually, you know what? Time out. Since I only have 4 minutes, I want to say a little word about that, because the story of Nathan is one that, for me, I don't know, it struck a few chords. I really like. So basically, Khan and I set out to do this initially. I mean, in part, obviously out of love for Beşiktaş, but with the idea that we were like giving a larger spotlight to the club in an international sense, and like we were, fresh off of great success in Europe, and we thought we were really building towards that, and that we would be providing that type of service. And of course, things haven't panned out quite how we'd hoped they would for the club since. But nonetheless, stories of guys like Nathan, who, I think, from what I understand, came to Turkey. I don't know if it was a vacation or for work or whatever it was, but in that process, fell in love with Beşiktaş. I think he attended a match, and just, decided to follow the sport and like pick the club that he had this connection with just through this experience. And by virtue of us making this podcast, he's been given the ability to follow the club and get behind it and kind of stay up to date with it. And for me, that's like, I mean, it's like a romantic, it's exactly like it's the perfect candidate for what we're trying to do, and we imagined being able to provide this for those types of fans. And so, Nathan, if you're out there, we salute you, and I think it's freaking awesome that you found us and that we're able to do that for you, because it is, again, as a non-Turkish speaking Beşiktaş fan, a huge part of why I wanted to do this was because it was something that I felt like I had needed when I was first trying to fall in love with the club. And like, luckily I had people like Khan, and we had all these great forums who could kind of keep me plugged in and keep feeding me information and let me get that passion going. But if we can do that for other people, that's awesome. I love that we're able to. And so
definitely fully agree. I think it's very validating that we actually are able to reach people that way, and like all of you in the chat as well, joining us every week, in the live chat. It's just great. It's fantastic. Really appreciate you guys. being with us all the time and supporting us, whether it is by just watching the streams, subscribing, liking, all that kind of stuff, spreading the news, sharing the video, sharing the streams, whatever you do, whether you're a Patreon member or not. I do find it very fascinating, though, that from the Patreon members we have, there's quite a few very completely non-Turkish names. Like we have Dara Hansi, we have Paul O'Connor. We've got a couple of other like really non-Turkish names there. Maybe they have Turkish links, I don't know, but it's fascinating to hear people's stories, whether you're half blood like Kartal and I and Sinan, or you're a full blood Turk, or you're completely have nothing, you don't have any ancestry in Turkey, but you still ended up supporting Beşiktaş. I think all the stories are fascinating. So yeah, join our community, join the WhatsApp group, let us know and tell us a little bit about your stories. And I still plan to do at some point, I want to do something with interviews with people with interesting stories like
we have
that.
the off season. Like when we get to the off season, we can do all kinds
The problem
of
with the
fun
off
things
season
like that.
is this transfer madness. There's so much transfer madness.
I know. We thought we were going to be short on episodes, but then this summer ended up being even more intense than the regular season. Anyway, guys, I got to go pick up my daughter from school, but I'm so glad to be back. By the way, I survived. I mean, I don't know. It was like a tiny.
Are you gonna be long?
Virus or something?
Are you gonna leave the camera on and stuff? Maybe just mute the microphone.
No, because I got practice after that anyway.
Right.
No
worries.
But I'll be back, guys. Monday. I'm so happy to talk about football again.
Let's hope you're still happy on Monday.
Yeah, right. That's true. Peace out, guys.
See you later, pal. Bye.
Bye, guys.
There we go. Switch that around, and then just need to switch the cameras on your end there, Cathal. We don't have something on there anymore.
So we're talking about the app now.
Let's talk about the app. Yeah, so the new BJK SuperApp just launched on Wednesday. Our little thumbnail for this episode actually has it on there. You can already get the app worldwide. Unfortunately, you need a Turkish cell phone number right now to be able to access it. I think all of us probably downloaded it straight away. I know some people a little bit slower than others because it wasn't instantly available on the Google Play Store, and it was on the App Store first. I think you had to wait a couple of hours before you could download it on the Google Play Store. But
as soon as we can get just now, the bit where it asks you for a phone number, it won't accept a non-Turkish number, unfortunately.
They're working on that. It's supposed to be fixed in the next week or two, and then everyone should be able to access it. I am very curious to know whether or not the benefits to us are gonna be anywhere near the benefit. Clearly, I think for any Beşiktaş fan living in Turkey, it feels like a no-brainer. It's going to cost you 1,800 lira if you get in now, and it's going to cost 2,000 liras going forward after the initial period. Now it's 1,800 for a year, but that gets you a lot of stuff. So that gets you, for example, a 20% discount on all the current season gear. Which did you see that, Cathal? It gets you 20% on the current season gear, and I think 10% on last season. So that's curious, right? That you get less of a discount
on the old stuff.
Yeah, you get less of a discount on the old stuff, but I guess the old stuff is automatically priced down already. So, like for example, an old shirt. I'm gonna talk euros now, guys, because I'm not gonna do it in liras. But like, instead of paying 85 euros for a current season shirt, like a last season shirt's maybe like 50 euros, and then you get 10% discount on top of that. But 20% on current season gear is really nice. So like the shirts right now are going 3,000 liras, I think.
Yep.
Right. So 20% on that's a 600 lira discount. So that's 2,400 lira for a shirt. Yeah, so that
if you buy 3 shirts, you basically make up the savings that you paid for the subscription.
Yeah, exactly. If you buy 3 shirts, you've gotten your money back already. And then, you know, if you buy like me, I love these hoodies, the training pants, any other gear that you buy, anything from Carta Juva, 20% discount on the current season collection, 10% on last season's collection. I think that alone makes it a no-brainer. But on top of that, there's a lot of other interesting stuff. There's insurance. There's a Beşiktaş MasterCard you can get, which has a cashback program. A lot of different shops have already signed up. For example, Carrefour. So if you do your grocery shopping at the Carrefour in Istanbul, you get 5% cashback. So if you pay with that card. So there's a lot of interesting things, financial things. Kaan Şakul was apparently very important in the development of this. But he, of course, has a banking background, and several people with a banking background worked on this app. So there's a lot of financial stuff in it. If I was living in Turkey, I'd be super stoked with this. It looks super exciting. A lot of really great benefits for 2,000 lira or 1,800 lira a year. It sounds like a no-brainer. It's like an Amazon Prime subscription, which is, I don't know how much an Amazon Prime subscription is in the UK, but it's pretty cheap here. Like it's
£9.
Yeah, for a year, £10.
£9 for a month.
£9 for a month. Okay, I think
get the yearly subscription, it works out a lot less.
Yeah, I think a yearly subscription here is around 50 euros, which is really cheap if you think about it. That's like, 4 euros a month. And I think 2,000 lira is around, 45 euros. So for a year, I mean, with all the benefits you get, especially if you think about it, I don't know how much the average family spends on groceries in Turkey every week. Like if we go to the store here, that's like easy, like a full cart, depending on if you buy a lot of junk or not, but 200 euros maybe for a full cart easily. So if you do that every week, and you get 5% cash back every time, that's a decent, that's 10 euros on a 200 shopping cart, times 52. That's 520 euros over a year that you get back just from cash back. So if you think about it that way, all the other features it also has live coverage of the games. So live statistics for both the men's football team and the men's basketball team. So I assume similar to FOTMob and stuff like that, and they'll probably get their statistics fed to them by, I don't know, Comparisinator or whatever company they decided to work with for those things. But yeah, there's a lot of neat features in the app. I just feels like a no-brainer. Supposedly, I think the projection that they gave during the elections was it was going to make the club between $25 and $35 million a year.
I don't believe. Yeah, I don't really believe that.
No, I don't either. However, I do think that you need to keep in mind, they're going to probably, I assume, whenever you shop at a store with your Beşiktaş card in a store that has the cashback program that's on the app, and they said they will expand the amount of stores in the future, Beşiktaş is going to get a kickback from every transaction. And Sorry?
It's a brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I do think that in the long term, if it catches on, it can translate quite easily. If you think about this, if just 100,000 people sign up for the paid membership, 100,000 people. I don't know how realistic that is, but 100,000 people for the paid membership is $5.6 million. So $5.6 million just from the membership fees, plus on top of that, all the kickbacks they're gonna get from whatever companies they work with. And then on top of that, don't underestimate the power of a 20% discount. Don't underestimate that, because people who might only buy one shirt or two shirts, maybe they'll buy 3 shirts, or maybe they'll buy a trainer set, or maybe they'll buy a hoodie, or they'll buy this, they'll buy that. The added benefit of having everything centralized in an app like that is that it also creates a lot more enticement, a lot more impulse buys, and I think that's something you can't really calculate, but it's also something that maybe they factored into their 35 million. So I do think in the long run, if the app takes off, I do think it will be a very good passive moneymaker for the club.
Definitely. And look, I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think the vast majority of the fan base are very excited about it as well. Even those that are criticising the board are saying, look, this is our app, we need to use it, we need to make sure the club gets money. Because it's not this board's app, it's our app, it's our club's app.
Of course.
And we need to use it to make the club money and to help our club get out of this current financial situation.
Not just that, there's no point in not using it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a brilliant idea. And this was probably arguably the biggest promise I think the board this made during the election was this app in terms of the monetary gain it would bring. And I think it's a great idea and it seems to be brilliant. I mean, I don't know if you mentioned, I didn't hear you say it, but you can also buy your tickets from the app as well.
Yeah, you can buy your tickets, I think, for all the matches. So I think also for the volleyball games and stuff like that, basketball, women's games, I think everything, right? Not just the football games. I think it's everything.
I think you're probably right because they did use all the teams in
in the promotional video. And on top of that as well, like recently Beşiktaş on YouTube added that join button that Sapa was talking about earlier, where you could become a member on YouTube and you would get access to exclusive video content. That is also included in the app. So if you subscribe to the app, if you pay the annual 2,000 lira or 1,800 right now, you also get access to the exclusive video footage. One more thing I was thinking of, which I think they should really try and do, is get the rights to old matches and have them on demand available on the app. So you, for example, can rewatch the 3-0 against Barcelona, the 2-1 against Liverpool, the 2-0 away at Chelsea, the 3-2 against Napoli, the championship game against Galatasaray where Sergen scored, the 3-4 win in Kadıköy. Like, if they could do that, they should totally try and get the rights to that, to have those on demand available on the app. That would be amazing. I think that would be such a great thing, but it might be difficult legally. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's probably difficult, man, but I think that'd be especially a good idea if you developed it a bit further and you made it like an app for desktop PCs, and like you can maybe make like a TV app as well, and that could be like very, very good as a as like a hub for watching old games, like a bit like the WWE Network. Is like that. I mean, I think if that could just be like a part of it, that'd be very good as well. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, like on the UEFA.com app, they have like the on game, and I've went back and watched like parts of that game several times, and especially the start when they done the anthem and the atmosphere was electric. Like people would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah.
And this is a great comment from Sinan here. So he's saying, I wonder if the Qatar UFC EU will link with the app if you input it.
Yeah, I have asked about that already. I have yet to get a response.
I've got a weird feeling it won't.
No, I have the same. I fear it won't, but I hope it will.
Yeah, I hope.
I mean, there would be very little point to signing up as a foreign fan if you don't have that 20% discount, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Or as a paid member, at least, obviously the free stuff would be fine, but as a paid member, like
exactly. I think if we abroad in Europe and in the Americas and whatever, outside Turkey, if we have the option to become a paid member, which I definitely think we should, I think, obviously, look, this whole Beşiktaş MasterCard cashback thing, that's not going to work. We know that. We were not going to get cashback on our shopping here in Belgium and in the UK and in the US. That's not plausible. That's not possible. That's too hard to work out for the club. That's just impossible. However, I think a 20% discount on kartaljuvc.eu is something that needs to be possible. That would be a massive enticement because they ship internationally. So, Sinan gets all his jerseys there, and he hasn't gotten slapped once by import duties. So that's great. I know when Talha got his shirt in Australia, he didn't have to pay any import either. And you know what? I think kartaljuvc.eu's shipping rates are pretty fair. I think it's 35 euros to ship to the US. And yeah, I know 35 euros is a lot, but if you get a bunch of shirts, it's not that bad. Like, it's not.
And it's a long distance, man. It's not the next country.
It might be 25 euros, actually. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's 25 or 35, but still. It's
20. Okay.
Yeah, 25 would be great, I think. If it's 35, it's a little expensive, but still, like you said, it's not the next country over. It's the only way to get shirts reliably. But I think if you could get like the way that kartaljuvc.eu works is they are official, but it's more like they work with the club. They aren't owned by the club per se. So I think the club then has to it's definitely doable. The club could offer every member of the app that buys from you, you get a certain money back or whatever. There's definite ways to work it out, and they have to. And I think if they don't, they're really letting the foreign fans. I think they owe us that. I think it would be unfair if we didn't get it, because it just then you don't get value for your money. I think people in Turkey with the app for that 2,000 lira a year, I think you get great value. I just hope that for us outside of Turkey, that our formula is going to give us great value as well. And it's not like for example, right now, the YouTube subscription in Turkey for the premium one is I don't know, it's cheap. And for me, it's €8.99 a month. That's a lot of money. That's more money than I pay for Amazon Prime, for example. And I don't get anywhere near the value out of it than I get out of Amazon Prime. Because I get the occasional exclusive video. And quite honestly, I don't really watch them that diligently. I have the subscription just to support the club. And of course, that's kind of the point behind it as well. But I do feel with this whole app thing, there's an opportunity there. If I could get a 20% discount on all the gear in kartaljuvc, I think I'd buy more, honestly. Because the stuff isn't super cheap, so.
No, it's not anymore, man.
No, it isn't. It used to be pretty cheap, but now it's on European. It's the same as if I go buy Anderlecht merchandise or Manchester United or whatever, it's similar prices now.
Yeah, man, they definitely need to find a way to do that, but I don't think they will.
For me, that is the single biggest enticement, the kartaljuvc discount. That is the biggest reason to get it for me. And I really hope they figure it out. I have asked, I have not gotten an answer yet. Yeah. Maybe they don't know themselves.
I hope they do, but I just don't see it happening, man. Maybe...
It shouldn't be that difficult, though, Kata. It should happen. They should make it. I mean, I think if they don't, it's lazy.
I don't know, man, because I feel like it's we'll probably be seen as too much of a niche, man, for care too much, to be honest.
But a niche? I mean, I think if it was too much, I don't think you can underestimate the amount of people outside of Turkey that spend a fuck ton of money on Beşiktaş. Just look at Sinan. How much money has he dropped this season on gear alone? He's bought 6, 7, 8 children that aren't his full sets of gear.
Yeah, no, of course. I feel like I agree with you, bro. It should happen. Do you actually have faith that they'll do it?
I don't think it will be. I don't expect it, but I really, really think they should, and I hope it's.
We feel the same way.
I think our expectations are a little low, and they haven't really given us a reason not to have low expectations. But if they're going to give us the option to pay, then they should give us the benefits as well. Look, they're already not going. essentially, then you would just be paying for the exclusive video content,
Yeah.
right? Like that's and then they can't ask full price. So what are they gonna do then? Like ask like a fraction of what people in Turkey pay? Like
I think they'll just say that you guys have got more money, so we're taking the full amount off you too.
yeah, that's usually it. I mean, look, the YouTube subscription is a lot more expensive for us than it is for people in Turkey. I think it's like 300 lira for people in Turkey or something like that. Is that right? I don't know, but
I don't yeah, man. I've not even checked that. I know it's quite expensive for it.
yeah, I don't know. I just remember it was really cheap for them, and I think it's pretty expensive for us. Yeah. Anyway, that's the Beşiktaş SuperApp. I definitely think you should check it out once you have the ability to do so. If you have a Turkish number, definitely check it out. Obviously, with new apps, when they launch, they're gonna have bugs. They're not gonna work great. There was a massive demand for them on day one, so there were people who couldn't download it because there was so much traffic and stuff like that. But just be patient. New apps always take a while before they work out the kinks and stuff like that. But if you do live in Turkey, 100% get the app. I mean, it's a no-brainer. There's just so much benefits to it. There's no reason not to get the app. And I think there's no reason not to get the paid subscription. If you buy shirts, you have to do it.
Obviously, someone that's going to buy shirts can afford it.
Yeah.
But people in Turkey can't afford that.
No, of course not. I mean, look, if you're on minimum wage and you can afford a shirt, then you're not going to pay 2,000 euros for this. But then again, like just the whole cashback program, that alone might be worth it, you know? Like,
yeah.
I did ask Emre, one of our mutual friends, if cashback is common practice in Turkey, and apparently it is. Like, for example, here in Belgium, it's not. Like, I know in the US, everyone pays with a credit card for everything, and they get cash back on everything they do. In Belgium, it's not like that. Credit cards are super uncommon. We all just use debit cards.
We don't really use credit cards here much either. Man.
Do you have a lot of cash back stuff, like when you go shopping in Aldi or in stores?
So there's like certain cards, like you do get credit cards with cash back, but like I don't hear of a lot of people using them. But
yeah.
For example, Chase Bank. I use Chase Bank as like a second bank account. My main bank's Bank of Scotland. But Chase Bank done a scheme for the first year. You got 1% cash back on absolutely everything.
1%.
Yeah, 1%, which is not a lot, but it's still.
That's still something. Yeah.
Yep. But the reason I have that as a alternative bank account is because, see, when you use the Chase Bank debit card abroad, like for example in Turkey, you get charged at the exact exchange rate and they don't take any commission.
No, that's nice.
So basically I don't need to take any cash to Turkey. I can just transfer how much my budget for that holiday to, not just Turkey, any country.
Yeah.
If I was going to America, the same. You get an exact exchange rate and they don't cut any commission, so it's a very, very good debit card to have. If you're abroad, means you don't need to carry cash. But yeah, they offered 1% cash back for the first year. My Bank of Scotland, they have like agreements with certain companies where you can get cash back. Say you go to Toby Carvery, you get like 5%, for example. Like they have like deals with some restaurants where you get like cash back and stuff like that. So it just depends on your bank. Different banks have different offers. I don't think it's not as widespread as America, but maybe from what you're saying, it's a bit more common than it is in Belgium.
Sinan just wrote he'd buy his daughter's entire team Beşiktaş jerseys with that discount. So that's reason enough to do it. Come on, let's do it. Let's get it done. You know what? Actually, Sinan, I think if you sent him an email and you said, I'll order this many, you'll probably get a discount. Anyway, so the Beşiktaş app looks great, especially for people in Turkey. For us in Europe and in outside of Turkey, we'll still have to wait and see what we actually end up getting. But for those of you in Turkey, it looks like an absolute great deal. So yeah, definitely get it. Other subject, guys. We haven't talked a lot about the girls at all. I think we mentioned Vanessa Cordoba when she transferred to Beşiktaş. The women's team. We talked a little bit about it. But there's definitely something we're talking about now. During the international break, our girls actually played the two derbies of the season against two of the derbies of the season against Galatasaray, against Fenerbahçe, and they won back-to-back games. First, they beat Galatasaray last week, and then this week they beat Fenerbahçe 2-0 at their own ground, and Fenerbahçe was 8 out of 8. They hadn't lost a single game. Obviously, they won everything this season, and our girls beat them in their own house. And yeah, fantastic week for them. We have some great players, it seems like. Their matches are often broadcast on the YouTube channel for Beşiktaş, so definitely worth watching our girls. I don't know if you watched the game. I watched the second half against Fenerbahçe. It was pretty good. I don't know about you, Kafa, but women's football might not be at the same level in terms of tempo and all that kind of stuff as the men's game. But what I do find is these girls are super passionate and it feels real. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I don't watch it, man, so I can't comment.
You should, man. You should. You definitely should. I just feel like it feels less artificial. You know? It's pure.
Yeah. Means more for them.
Yeah, I do think so. I think the girls are doing fantastic, and definitely want to give them a shout out for a fantastic win. One of the girls, I forget her name. I think her name is Halilash or something like that. She scored in both games. She is Kosovaran, I believe. But like after the Galatasaray game, she gave like an entire interview in Turkish. So pretty impressive. People were so impressed with Jonas Svensson, but look at this chick. She's talking Turkish already like a boss. And no, it's great to see. I definitely recommend everyone to keep tabs on the girls, see how they're doing. Follow them, them on social media. Follow the Twitter account from the team. Watch the matches when you can, when you have time. Watch them, leave comments, support them, and yeah. They're doing great. So definitely want to mention that. They are. They're doing better than the men. This is like the United States national team. Soon our girls will be asking for equal pay because they're doing better than the men.
Yeah, that girl you were talking about was saying, Rafa Silva gets €6 million a year. I won that too.
Yeah, rightfully so. Nah, not really. Anyway, let's get to the next subject. So, obviously, Maccabi Tel Aviv is coming up. On the weekend, we have Göztepe. Let's quickly talk a little bit about the Göztepe game. Ernest Mucci, he will miss that match. He will also miss a match against Maccabi. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. He finally got to start for Albania, and then he gets injured for the first time in his career. Then he's out for about a month with nothing serious, nothing super serious, no tear or anything like that, but he'll be out for 3 to 4 weeks. And we'll miss him on Sunday, we'll miss him on Thursday, and we'll miss him for the next couple of matches. Göztepe at home on Sunday, Kartal. It's a big game. A team that's in form is having a great season. They have a good team. They have a good coach. At home, they have only dropped points once, but fortunately we aren't away yet. We are playing at home against them. Ciro is back. Rasička should be back. I think Polista is back. So other than Necip and Mucci, we are at full strength. What are your expectations for Sunday?
I mean, the dream is to see football like what we saw at the start of the season. That I think that will happen. I'm not sure. Rasička being back in the starting 11 is going to be a huge boost. We didn't have a proper winger in our starting 11 for a month, and I think that was one of the major factors as to why we had such bad form and we got so many bad results. So it'll be very good having him back in that starting 11. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, man, like I don't know what to expect. Like at this point, like after dropping points 3 games in a row, only 1 win in our last 5 in the league. Rasička being back will be a boost. We should win. We need to win. But at this point, I don't know, man.
I think we've said this a few times that we expect the team to react and stuff like that. I really expect a reaction this time. I really have a feeling it's going to happen. I think, Immobile being back is going to give a big boost. Rasicka being back is going to give a boost. And I think just having wings again. I think the fact that Mucci is injured might not be the worst thing in the world, because otherwise I kind of feel like Gio would be inclined to somehow shoehorn him in. I think it's a good thing that he maybe doesn't have that decision to make. This way, hopefully, we'll see Semi on the left, Rasicka on the right, and Chiro up top. I expect a good game, and I expect to win. I think it'll be tough because Göztepe are a good quality side, but at home, with the return of these players, I really think we are going to get a good result, and hopefully you'll carry it over into Thursday. And let's talk about that one. I actually did a preview with Ras Amir, Israeli sports journalist who covers Tel Aviv, Maccabi Tel Aviv, for I don't know, for the local newspaper, I believe, and maybe also for television. I'm not sure. So thanks go out to Ras for giving us the interview and giving us his insights on Maccabi Tel Aviv's side. It was not an easy interview, I think, for neither of us. I'm very grateful to Raz that he was willing to do it. When I contacted him a few months ago, he said, I want to do it, but I'm a little bit afraid for the reactions, obviously because of the war and stuff like that. And he's just there to talk about football, not to talk about politics. So go and check out the video that I did, the interview that I did with him, and leave a comment, but be nice, please. He's not the one killing children and invading Palestine. He's just a sports journalist. I think I kind of made a statement there. Anyway, it wasn't easy because obviously it's a difficult situation with the game being played in Hungary, the game being played on a neutral ground. I did ask him about it though. I did ask him, what did you think about whether should UEFA have separated Turkish and Israeli clubs beforehand? We talked about that. We talked about how much of a benefit it was going to be to Maccabi for this match to be played there and not in front of the Istanbul crowd. We talked about all of that, and obviously I think the obvious answer is that we all know it's going to be a massive benefit to them. It's going to be a massive advantage to them. I also think that playing the game in Hungary is highly questionable. The Israeli national team plays their home matches in Hungary, so this is essentially almost a home game for Maccabi. Maccabi themselves played their matches in Belgrade, which is just a couple of 100 kilometers further in Serbia, where they initially wanted this match to be played. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you play this game in a neutral ground, okay, fair enough, play it in Germany or something. But apparently, like, Germany didn't want any of it, Belgium didn't want any of it. Like, a lot of the countries said, no, we don't want to host this game. I mean, to me, that's just a massive sign of that UEFA fucked up. I think Beşiktaş are seriously being penalized here, and there's no reason to penalize them. I genuinely wonder if there's going to be any form of compensation by UEFA. Are UEFA going to give Beşiktaş a monetary compensation? There's going to be a huge loss of income just because of the gate. We're not going to be able to sell tickets. That's like $1 million or something right there. Then, of course, the chances of us winning this match are significantly slimmer now, I believe. And this is a so important game for us. Like, this is a must-win match. If we win this, we are probably qualified for the next round. But we need to win this game, though. I'm very upset about this. I don't know how you feel about it, Karta, but I feel like this is one of the biggest injustices in football right now.
It's shit, man. Like, it's a bad situation. We should have just been separated from them altogether, to be honest. Really, I mean, if you really want my honesty, I don't think Israeli teams should be allowed in.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Just like, because that's what's happened to the Russian team, so why is there a double standard? Like, one invader has been banned, thrown out completely, demonised, whereas the other ones are allowed in and also being handed out favours, like not having to come and play in our stadium. I think it's not fair.
They're not just invading one country; they're invading two countries right now.
On as well, yeah, that's right.
I mean, you of course you can argue, like if I want to play devil's advocate here, they can of course make the argument of but Ukraine never attacked Russia before Russia invaded them. Whereas, of course, obviously, you know,
Yeah, the Serbian
Hamas and Hezbollah, they've been conducting terrorist attacks on Israel for a long time. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, there's a difference, but the difference isn't big. And I think if it were any other country, look, if this was Turkey invading Syria, for example, I think it would be different. You know, I mean, yeah, Turkey have invaded Syria and they haven't gotten banned, so I don't know. But like, let's say Turkey invade Cyprus, you know, southern Cyprus.
We have done before, and we got sanctions.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah. Actually, my grandfather was involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I told you, but my grandfather was a general in the Turkish army.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually like involved in like with the communication and stuff like that for that invasion.
You've never told me that. Something new.
Yeah, my dad, man, like he was an asubay, is a title. It's like a type of general in the army.
Okay. Yeah, but I think if Turkey invaded, what is it, southern Cyprus, I guess, tomorrow.
At that point, we took over the full country in like 4 days or something, and then obviously later on they split it.
Yeah. But like, I think it's fair to say that if any other country in Europe that's currently active in UEFA competition would invade another country, there's a very high probability that teams from that country would just be banned for now. You know, I just feel like, I mean, look, first and foremost, Israel aren't even a European country. Like, they're not even close to being a European country. You know, they used to play in the Asian I mean, look, Maccabi Tel Aviv has like an Asian Champions League or something, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So they used to play in the Asian Association before. Obviously, yeah, that's not very easy now for them, is it? But like, the fact that they're in UEFA in the first place, I think that's not really correct. That's like Australia taking part in the Eurovision Song Festival. Like, it's ridiculous. It's Eurovision. It's not, you know, like, name the thing something else then. But then on top of that, like, now under these circumstances, they definitely shouldn't be active in European football, I think. If
you can't compare this to the invasion of northern Syria 5 years ago. That was a very quick invasion to create a buffer for.
Yeah.
Of
course.
This is. And
there's also a big difference, like, you know, our army, like the Turkish army, didn't go out of their way to kill kids and shit like that, you know.
Literally, it was a quick operation to create a safe zone, basically to take out terrorists that were attacking the country. Mm-hmm. And it was quick, and once it was done, it was done. This is different.
Yeah. This is a very different thing, and you know, whether or not you agree with their invasion, I don't think a lot of people who are watching this will probably. But I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be people who, you know, say, yeah, but they have the right to defend themselves, blah blah blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, you know, to a certain extent, you know, I think that extent has long since been trampled. But you know, I don't want to make this too political. But like, even if UEFA did insist on including this, I think how many Muslim countries are there in Europe, Kahtal? How many?
With like UEFA or Europe itself?
In Europe, how many Muslim countries are there in Europe?
In the Union, or like just in like
just in Europe? Just in Europe. How many Muslim countries? Predominantly Muslim countries.
I think Turkey partially in Europe. Then I think you've got Bosnia and Herzegovina.
That's pretty much it, right?
Also, Albania, I think they're quite mixed. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's mixed. But like, if you look at UEFA, the only country that is majority Muslim, and I have to lie about whether Bosnia is or not, but that's Turkey, right? And I think it is rather predictable that there's going to be issues if the Israeli team has to visit a country that is predominantly Muslim, because obviously the vast majority of people are going to sympathize with the Palestinian plea. Hell, if Maccabi Tel Aviv had to play Celtic, or even Rangers, but I think they played Rangers actually, but if they had to play Celtic away, they would. I mean, that wouldn't go without without risk. I don't think Scottish fans would do anything stupid. I think Turkish fans are far more inclined to do something stupid.
Yeah, they're definitely. For example, if they played Celtic, there'd be Palestine flags in the crowd. But I mean, see, you were saying even Rangers as well. Like maybe not at a club level, but I mean, I suppose Celtic is not a club level. It's more of a fan thing. But see, this city as a whole is very, very pro-Palestine. See, if you go anywhere in Glasgow, you'll see Palestinian flags. Yeah. You'll see graffiti saying like "Free Palestine" and stuff like that. Even like see the Nike store in the city centre is being renovated just now, and you know how they put like up the boards up saying "Oh, we'll be open soon." Like someone spray painted on it "Funding Genocide." Like everywhere you go in Glasgow, you see like pro-Palestine stuff. So we're a very kind of left-leaning city. So like I think they maybe wouldn't be ideal for them to come here either. Although I do agree with, like, I don't think he'd get with stupid stuff would happen like here. I don't think you'd have any like physical attacks or anything like that, which I think you do risk in Turkey. Yeah,
I think so too. But I think that is very predictable. I think, look, for 6 years before, when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, I think. So between 2014 and 2022, when Russian clubs were active in Europe, clubs from Ukraine and Russia were unable to draw each other in any UEFA competition. UEFA should always have separated Turkish and Israeli clubs. I do not understand why they didn't. That is beyond... I mean, the fact that they even now... Because now, of course, they can hide behind the fact that Turkey, the government didn't want to sanction the match, didn't want to guarantee safety. They can hide behind that. But the fact alone that they had to ask the Turkish government beforehand is proof enough that this match should never have been allowed to take place in the first place. They should have been separated. Simple as that. And basically, this for me, I don't know how you say it in English, honestly. In Dutch, it's competitievervalsing. But I think this is cheating in a way. Like, this is unfair. The playfield is not level because of this. Beşiktaş are robbed of a home game, a home field advantage. That is stacking the deck, and we didn't do anything to deserve it. Like, it's not like, look, if your fans misbehaved or you did something and you have to play a game behind closed doors, that's different. That you got, you were sanctioned. But we have nothing to be sanctioned for, and we are still being sanctioned not once but twice. And the game is being played at a neutral ground, so travel again for our team. And on top of that, it's behind closed doors. So we are sanctioned twice. It is completely and utterly disgraceful. I don't know what you think about the game. I know you are hopeful for a win. So am I, obviously. I would not be surprised if we drop points. And I really hope we don't, because I don't know what I would have to do with my... I have a very tough time dealing with feelings of injustice. And if we would drop points in that match, I don't know what I would have, how I'd have to bottle up those feelings. I'd have a very tough time. I know that already. It would really eat me up, because I think it would be one of the biggest injustices in modern football history if we drop points in that game. God forbid lose.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, this isn't the first time something like this has even happened to us, to be honest. Like, not as bad though. Obviously, for example, we played Chelsea in Germany in 2003, But that did have fans for
They
that.
had
game.
fans. I was there. I was at the match. That was fantastic. We lost the game, of course, but it was amazing. It was 50,000 people. It was an opportunity for a lot of people in Europe, a lot of Gurbetçi Turks to watch. Now, that was my first ever match. So, and I think that was justified because there were terrorist attacks at the time, and
I think it was more to do with the stuff with Leeds.
what?
Because of I think that was at the time, because that was only a few years after the Leeds fans get stabbed in Turkey.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the terrorist attacks in Turkey at the moment. In that time, Galatasaray had to play in Dortmund. We had to play in Gelsenkirchen because of those terrorists, because of a terrorist threat. I don't know why you. Where'd you get that idea? It had nothing to do with that.
Because in that campaign, did we play all our home games in Germany?
No, just that one match.
So that's what makes me think, why would we not play the other home games if there was such a big terrorist threat?
There was just a few weeks before that or something. There was an attack.
All right. See, I think maybe I don't remember correctly, but I thought I read something.
No. It was because of a terrorist. No. It had nothing to do with that. If that was the case, then why would we have played our Leeds match the year after in Istanbul, right?
Let me think.
You're
right. You're right.
Yeah.
Now I think about it, you're right. That's right. We played them because they won. That was in 99-00. They won the UEFA Cup and they played in the. That's right. No, you're right,
In
man. 2000,
we played Leeds in the Champions League, and we actually hosted them, and
right. Now I've thought back about that. Yeah, that's right. We drew at home and then we get pumped 6-0 or something.
Yeah.
Pascal,
0-0 at home. There's a
Pascal
campaign.
one of their players.
Sorry.
Pascal Numa punched one of their players as well.
Yeah, he did. In the red shirt, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, so that Maccabi game, obviously a massively important match, but it's going to be extra difficult. If we were playing this in our own stadium, I would feel very comfortable that we would win that match. Right now, because of the circumstances, I think it is 100% in their advantage because they are in a familiar surrounding, because all their internationals have played their home games for Israel in that stadium, or at least in that city. And like their entire European campaign, they have been playing their home games in that region, in Serbia, not Hungary, but still. And it's behind closed doors. It just feels like such a massive... it feels super unfair. I am really upset about it. It eats me up. It makes me angry. I just want this game to be over with. I want us to take the 3 points because I don't want to ever have to think about it again. Because it feels like something disgusting has been done to you, and you just want to forget about it. You know what I mean?
There's a way where you get that taste out your mouth and see if you use this as fuel when we go out and destroy them.
I hope so. I hope our players.
That will make the win more significant.
But do you think that? I hope Giovanni Van Bronckhorst can get that feeling into the dressing room and into the players, but I don't know if they'll be able to, honestly. I really hope so. I just hope they won't be deflated because of it. You know, travel again, empty stadium, blah, blah, blah. I really hope they are able to charge themselves up properly for that match. But I'm not sure. I really hope they will. And on Thursday, if they do, I will be super proud about them. For me, if they play well and actually, as you would put it, pump Maccabi, that would buy a lot of goodwill for me with both the players and the coaching staff. Because I think that would be really doing the club proud and getting a lot of assholes in Turkey that are saying we shouldn't even be playing this match and it's a scandal that Beşiktaş is playing this game. I think that would also shut those idiots up. Because why should Beşiktaş refuse to play this game and get penalized?
if we played this game. One of the papers put it on was saying,
Yeah.
it's fucking bullshit, man.
Absolute disgraceful. I hope they go fuck themselves. Anyway, that's about the newspaper, by the way, not Maccabi Tel Aviv, just for the record. I think that's pretty much everything I've got here. Is there anything else that happened over the last 2 weeks, Kettle, that you want to talk about? Because there's been so much. There's even... you know what? There's actually something I still want to talk about, but I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, I'm just having to think about it. Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered most of it, man. Maybe one thing I'd like to maybe ask the comment section, a bit of an interactive question. So the way it's looking, it seems like Hasan Arat might not run, just based off. That's what I sense from his comments of, you don't know what's going to happen in someone's private life, or maybe there is even something just now kind of thing. So I'm asking the group chat, if in the event Hasan Arat doesn't run, and your options are Hüseyin Yücel, Serdar Adalı, Fikret Orman, or Emre Kocada, who would you pick as your president, and why? Tell us in the comments.
Who would you pick, Kettle?
I'm torn, bro. I don't really trust any of them, to be honest.
I definitely wouldn't go with Emre Kocada. For me, that's already like no.
Just put an X through him, man.
Yeah, you can already put a cross through his name. Like, I have no faith in him. Like, obviously, the fact that he was part of the Ahmet Nurçebi board tainted him, but also, like, you know, the comments he made last week in the media, to me, just like,
said, we reduced the debt, but you didn't. In 2019, Fikret Orman basically changed the debt from euros to Turkish lira, right? When we had the Bankalar Birliği Anlaşması, the United Banks agreement. When we done that, we converted our debt to lira, and yes, in terms of euros, the debt is halved, but you've not halved the debt because the lira is lost like 4 or 5 times its value to the euro, right? Really, you've actually doubled the debt, because see if the debt was like 8 times low, for example, than what it was in euros, then you could say you've halved the debt, because the lira's lost basically like 4 times its value to the euro, roughly. I'm just kind of throwing out numbers here.
Yeah.
You could say I've halved the debt, but see, actually, if it's like the euros is like the euros quadrupled in value to the lira, and you've only in euros that debt's only went down by half, it actually tells me that in real terms you've not actually reduced the debt. It's kind of went up in a way. You've not managed that.
I mean, look, I think it's a two-way street. I think him trying to take credit for having the debt is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It's him being a blowhard and just trying to paint certain things in a certain light. But on the other hand, I also think that the fact that the lira has depreciated as much as it has, and the fact that the majority of expenses the club has are still in foreign currency, automatically brings with it that obviously debt is going to increase, because that's just the way it is. So I don't necessarily think that they've doubled the debt. I mean, look, they might have statistically, but I think there's also a reason for that, because of the depreciation of the lira, and because of the fact that all of the majority of the big expenses are in foreign currency. So that's just going to work against you, no matter who you are, you know. And it's difficult to decrease those debt unless, like Galatasaray, you go and you sell a really big piece of land for a ridiculous amount of money, and then buy it back for a fraction and then sell it again. You know, if you do that, then anyone can clear debt. But if you do it the normal way, it's very difficult, I think, given the current financial situation in Turkey. But I think him trying to take credit for it just shows me straight away he's not the right man for the job. I also didn't think that, like, he did some stuff during the Ahmet Nurçebi board which made you think, okay, maybe he's somewhat capable, but I don't trust him. For me, he's an immediate no-go. And then if you have the choice between Adalı, Orman, or Yücel, it's tough because I think Oman, he has a lot of really good qualities. He's a smart man, but also he's one of the guys that didn't pay the janitors for 6 months. Constantly we were hearing about the team not getting paid, and that was causing a lot of issues. I just feel like if Oman comes back, that will happen again. And I feel like people super easily forget about that because now they're being super critical of Hasan Arat, but we haven't heard a single time, not even a whisper, for such a long time. And under Ahmed Nuchebi as well to an extent, but like under Hasan Arat, we haven't heard a whisper, even a whiff of anything like that, of people not getting paid, and people take that for granted.
Yeah, but it's the most important thing, man. That the most basic function of actually running the club is making sure everyone gets their money.
Yeah, of course. But in Turkey,
like, you're going to get court cases against you, and people aren't going to do their job properly if they're not getting paid for it.
Yeah, and the thing is with the Ahmed Nuchebi, people will say, "Oh yeah, but he paid as well." But like, no, he didn't, because we found out, Victor Ruiz, Tyler Boyd, and other people didn't get paid, and now we're left with those, cases that we have to pay them penalties and stuff like that. So, I mean, Hasan Arat is the first Başkan since I don't remember under Bilgili, but Demir, there was a lot of people not getting paid. Oman, there was a lot of people not getting paid. Ahmed Nuchebi he was paying the players that were playing, I think, but people that were like on the outs, they weren't getting paid, and that's not right either, because you damage the club.
See, when he first came, there was issues with payment. Like, see, when he took over in October, that kind of first season, there was issues with payment. Like, Ruiz terminated his contract.
But that was wasn't that also like the start of the pandemic and stuff? Like,
it was, and then so did Karius, if you remember. They those two terminated their contracts because they unpaid wages.
Yeah.
After that, for the 3 years after that, there wasn't issues with unpaid wages. The issue with Tyler Boyd was, I think it was an unlawful termination of contract. I think that was the issue with him. Like, he took us to court because there was something with his contract. In fact, I think it was because in his contract it said he had to be in the squad. I think it was a mixture of that and unlawful termination. But we had to basically pay him a compensation fee, which they never did. And that was the problem with Tyler Boyd. So I think in terms of actually paying the wages from 2020 to 2023 was fine. But in that first initial year, like, let's say 8-9 months when they first came in, the pandemic kicked off. There was issues with paying carries and from when like 2020 to 2023, actually I think he was fine at paying the wages. Obviously there was court cases, but for me, Fikret Orban is a hard one, right? I think, to be honest, the first 4 years between 2012 and 2016, I think Fikret Orban done a brilliant job of managing the club. He set the expectations well. We built the squad well, slowly and steadily, in a way that led to the best success we've had in this century.
Yeah, but do you think, because we had a humble Fikret Orban at that point, right?
Yeah, but
and then the success came.
He was poisoned by that success.
Yeah,
and as much as we actually were very successful in 16-17, we won the league again. I think he started going away from that initial strategy that made us successful. Then even, obviously the transfers then, they all worked out. Adriano, Gökhan Günen, Can Erkin.
There were transfers that didn't work out as well. Matej Mitrovic.
Yeah, they worked out. But that was when I started seeing that turn from...
Yeah.
He's really spending more money now on wages and stuff like that. And before
when Negredo came in, Lens came in.
17 really was really bad management. And then obviously after we never won the league in 17-18, it all came crumbling down. He couldn't pay the wages. But I also think there's an element of the other party infiltrating the club that you referred to in our group chat. Umut Gunnar.
Yeah.
And Şafak Mahmut.
Mahmut Yazıcıoğlu.
Yeah, they came in, and Ahmet Nursebi, who obviously we all we're happy he's gone now, but at that time he was seen as doing a good job. He was kind of tossed to the wayside for these guys.
Yeah, and Erdal Torunolare as well.
He was tossed to the wayside as well, exactly. And the 2 years we won the league, he was actually in charge of the transfer and the recruitment. And he was actually in charge of the recruitment in 2020-2021 as well. But then actually Sargan wanted them out, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, it's quite funny, in the last 3 titles, he was the guy that was responsible. But Fikret Orban, and we saw, I think by that success he was poisoned. And he got a big head and became an egoist. Even last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if we saw glimpses of that.
He said a lot of really smart stuff, but then he also pounded his chest.
Yep. And that's, I think, where the issue came in. That first half, to me, and that, like, let's even say 2017, because it was really 2017 that the big mistakes happened that caused the downfall.
Yeah.
From 2012 to 2017, he's the best. That's the best presidential stint I've seen in my time. Obviously, Seba left when I was 2 years old.
Yeah, of course.
Or was it maybe even 98? Was it 98 or was it 2000?
2000.
Yeah, so I was 2 years old when Seba left, so obviously I've got no recollection of that. Obviously, I've got very limited recollection of when we won the league in 03 when I was 5 under Birgiri. But out of the presidents I've got, like, I remember well, that initial kind of 5 years under Orman was by far the best that I've seen in terms of management of the club. But I'd make an argument that, see, the last 2 years were as bad as they were in. And that's what makes me scared.
Yeah, it was maybe not as bad as Demirören, but it was definitely bad, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what makes me scared about going with him again.
I don't think it was as bad as Demirören, honestly, because Demirören was really fucking bad, but
the unpaid wages, man, and the fact that, like, when Ahmet Nursevi came in, the cash register was empty, the players hadn't been 3 months, and the staff hadn't been paid in 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, that's really bad, man.
Yeah, it was really
I know
bad.
Demirören, those large stretches, players didn't get paid as well.
With Demirören, I think there's more.
Just bad management.
There was a lot of stealing going on.
Yeah,
from the club, like the whole Tabata thing, Ismail Koybaşı, Thomas Sivok's transfer was really fishy. I know I've told this story online a few times, I think already. Like, there was we declared, like, because we had the cup declarations even back then, and I think we declared his fee at 6.5 million. And then, like, the next day or something, Udinese declared the fee at 4.5, so there was like a 2 million deficit. And it's like, yeah, like, where'd that 2 million go? And like Tabata, everyone's kind of knew that, like, that's not right. Like, 8 million for Tabata was like, somebody pocketed a lot of money there. And also, like, the people in charge at the time at Gaziantep, they were known for money laundering. Ibrahim Kizil, I think his name was. They bankrupted that club, using them as a money laundering service essentially. And that 8 million, that was probably, there's something iffy about that as well. So I think Demirören did a lot to harm the club. And also afterwards, when Orman became president, Demirören became a very active force to, Orman was talking about it, about the actions against him, but like Demirören controls a lot of newspapers, like Takvim, I think maybe Milliyet, the Demirören group owns a lot of different media outlets and stuff like that. And like, for example, Takvim was always super they were always putting out hit pieces, always, and Demirören was always doing that. And of course he was the president of the league for a while, and I think he used that power to sabotage Beşiktaş as well, and he was a very vindictive person.
I think even the best example of that, Karen, is 2012. If you remember, the basketball team won the treble. We won the Euro Challenge, which is like the equivalent to the Conference League. We won the Turkish League and the Turkish Cup.
Yeah.
What does the sponsor at the time was Biangas? What does Demirören do? He pulls out a sponsorship straight away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a very spiteful person. Like, he's
and because of that, we went into the EuroLeague the next season with a a far weaker squad to the one we just won the league, the 3 trophies with, the treble with, and Galatasaray actually poached a lot of our players as well, and the coach.
And the coach, yeah. Ergin Ataman, right?
Yep, that's right, Ergin Ataman, yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with when I think it was a year, maybe 2 years ago, like there were people saying Demiren's gonna run, and there were people online who were actually supporting it, and I couldn't believe like this is a man who has gone out of his way to damage Beşiktaş. Like I don't understand how he has not been stripped of his membership yet. Like he should not be a Congress member. He has no right to be a Congress member.
He literally is the person that's ruined this club, man. And
yeah, he turned Beşiktaş from one of only 2 clubs in Turkey alongside Göztepe with no debt into a club with into a debt-riddled club. Because
we were on the brink of bankruptcy, man, during his stint. Orman kind of steered the ship to safety.
Yeah, that's the Feda. The whole reason for Feda was him. Seba left the club without debt, zero debt, and then Bilgili came and we started creating a little bit of debt. But then Demiren came and suddenly we had 200-300 million debt.
Yeah, I mean, I see like how bad it was on their Demiren. Like my cousin, my Scottish cousin's husband, my cousin Suzanne's husband Richard. This guy doesn't give a fuck about football. Like, he really doesn't care at all. But even I remember at the time he was telling me that he read an article that we were like one of the big clubs in Europe that were like most likely to get go bankrupt. It was like a well-known thing. Like,
how do you create almost 300 million debt in 8 years? I mean, if you look what we did as well, like the players we signed and stuff like that. How does that happen? I don't understand. Like,
obviously, I was like during Demiren's stint. It goes from me being age 6 to age 14. Like, so I was a child during it, but I literally remember hearing I'd be in Turkey and be like, would sign this guy, that guy, this guy. Like Diata, Federic Klein.
There was a few years there where we signed every player that Fenerbahçe didn't extend, like Ali Güneş, Mehmet Yozgatlı, Mustafa Doğan, Nobre. Like every player that Fener didn't want to keep, we signed them straight away on good contracts as well. And obviously the whole Fulya project that was supposed to be like this app. A massive moneymaker for the club, for passive income every year, like 10-20 million euros annually. That's what it was supposed to be. Turned into a joke, and Demiren, of course, benefited from that. Like he scammed the club. He completely fucked the club's future by fucking up that Fulya project deliberately. So anyone who ever says Demiren should run for president again, they aren't even a Beşiktaş fan. They are idiots. They need to be lobotomized.
It was crazy, but man. So going back to who I'd pick, it depends what Orban we get. If we get the Orban of the first 5 years, brilliant.
Yeah, but you won't, right?
If we get the Orban of the last 2 years, well. He basically undone all the good stuff he done.
I don't think you'll get the Orman that... I mean, look, I think you'll get the arrogant, cocky Orman. I do think he would come in with good plans and stuff like that, but I don't think you'll ever get the Orman from 2012 to 2017 back, because that you can't get... it's impossible to get him... back to being humble like that. That doesn't happen. I do think if he comes back, he will have good plans and he will have a project and all that kind of stuff. So, and then like Adali, for me, I think like people say about Adali like he's a man that went to prison for the club.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think that's a little bit stupid. That's like saying Trump took a bullet for America. Like I feel that's a little bit of an overstatement. I like Adali though, don't get me wrong. I think he's a very likable guy. He's clearly somebody who loves the club. He really does. He really, really does. You can tell he's genuine about that.
I feel like he'd fall into too much into the populist traps and making populist transfers and I do plan.
I don't know if he would do it out of populism though. I think he would do it out of a genuine place of wanting to make the fans happy. I don't think he would do it just to be loved. I don't think that's why he does anything. I think he genuinely loves the club. So I wouldn't. He's not my favorite, but I feel like maybe. And with Hussein Yücel, I kind of have the same feeling, honestly, because I think when he brokered the Kagawa transfer, I think he did that. Like there was no real benefit to that to him, other than setting up a potential presidency down the road. But he did that like 6 years ago or something. And then obviously now, I mean, he's clearly able to put his money where his mouth is.
Karen, and he's very unprofessional.
Yes. But
I mean, people are taking the piss on social media. They're saying Hussein Yücel was going about channel to channel in May after a few too many rickers, saying, "Oh, would you like Mourinho or Talisca?" And now both of them are Fenerbahçe most likely.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I do think if he was in charge, though, he'd probably just pull the trigger on stuff like that. And he'd just be like, "Fuck it," and he'd actually deliver on it. I think now, because he's not the man and not the main guy, he still has people to answer to. He has people that need to sign off on stuff. I think if he was in charge, he would probably just brought Mourinho and Talisca, you know? I'm not saying that's a good thing, eh? I'm just saying, like,
I think if we brought Mourinho and Talisca instead of Rafa and Gio, I prefer Rafa and Gio.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but like I do think if you bring, I think Hussein Yücel would be more a Fenerbahçe başkan than a Beşiktaş başkan. I think he would be very much like Ali Koç, like trying to throw money at the problem and trying to solve it with just money. I think Hussein Yücel is a very good guy to have at the club, but I don't think that having him as number one is. I mean, obviously he could prove us wrong, but I think he needs someone like Hasan Arat to temper him a little bit, because I definitely think that his.
I even failed at that sometimes by letting him go on all those TV channels.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely wasn't doing him any favors there. But I don't know about Yücel. Like, look, Oman, Yücel, Adali, for me, I have question marks with all three of them. I wouldn't. I think whoever it would be, I would give them a fair shake. I would give them, they'd get like 2 years before I would really start. Like, I feel the same way about Arat now. Like, I think he's done a good job, honestly. I think that people are being way too harsh, but I also think that he needs more time. You can't judge him on a year. That's just silly. Like, this first year and a half is still he's cleaning up all the messes left by the previous board. I think if he gets reelected in May, if he runs again and he gets reelected in May, we can start judging him then, starting in that summer. Then we can start properly judging him, I think. And then over the course of that next 3 years, we need to judge him. I don't think you can judge him now. I think the things he's done wrong so far are, I don't know. Like, I don't think they're anywhere near as big as people make him out to be.
I'm a bit on the fence, but overall, like, I think if Arat was to run again with these guys as the opponents, I'd definitely vote for Hasan Arat if I had a vote. Obviously, I don't. I'd vote for Hasan Arat to give him the time to see it through. But yeah. I'm really, really, really under the impression that he's not going to run.
Why did if Hasan Arat doesn't run, why doesn't Bülent Uslu throw his name in the hat? Like, what?
I don't think he's got the connections to do that, man, and I don't think he's the right guy to lead the club, man. He's not get too much of a temper. He's too emotional.
Yeah, maybe. I think he should, though, if he's gonna be like. I mean, I feel like he needs to kind of put his money where his mouth is, you know. Anyway, there's one more thing I actually wanted to talk to you about.
With Picto, We need to pick someone.
Oh, we need to pick someone. Okay.
Out of those names,
I'm gonna. This is gonna be very uncan, because I think I usually go with the rational thing. I'd like to see what Yushel does.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. It might be. It could be a complete and utter dumpster fire, but I'd be interested in seeing it. I believe. I'm not sure I think his dad's a billionaire.
Yeah, his dad owns the private schools in the university.
So, yeah. So maybe, I don't know. Obviously he was able to bring Rafa, and I think if he has the right people around him, the right people influencing him, so he doesn't bring Mourinho and he doesn't bring Talisca, and he brings the right players. But even the problem is as well with the change coming for the whole foreign limit and stuff. He's not gonna be able to bring those types of players anyway. He's gonna have to start putting his money more towards young talents anyway, probably. So maybe that would be an advantage.
Yeah, I think that I've got a feeling that part of that rule will be scrapped, man. Because there's no way. I don't think they thought that through properly. It's not realistic, man. You can't sign any kind of good player from the country.
I don't think that rule's gonna last very long either. I think
scrap it before the summer. And see if you can only sign 3 players over the age of 23, but there's no international thing, or 23 or 24.
I think if they would scrap the 75% requirement for and just, I think it's fine. You can sign as many under 24 players as you want, but only 3 above. I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
I think 3 per season's plenty, anyway.
Yeah, 3 per season is plenty, I think. Yeah. But the quota for 75% of international matches should be dropped. That's stupid. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous. If they drop that part of the rule, then I actually think it's a great rule.
Yeah,
because it stimulates looking for young, talented players.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. But yeah, for me, man, I say this with not trusting him, but I think I'd go with Orman, man.
All right. Yeah, I think Orman is the safest choice out of the 3, honestly, because of his past performances.
Yeah, but obviously I'm scared that we'd see a repeat of the last 2 years. I'm scared of that, and I don't trust him. But from that group, I'd vote for him. If Hasan Arat runs, unless we get this super good candidate out of nowhere, I'd back Hasan Arat if Hasan Arat was to run again.
Part of me would also kind of want to see Adale president, just so I feel like the emotional part of me kind of feels like, okay, he clearly loves this club a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe give him the reins,
He's ran twice already.
2-3 times, I think. Yeah. He ran against Oman.
Yep.
And he ran against Arat now, obviously.
Chebe as well.
Oh, so 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. And we always thought that he was the populist choice, and the other one was the smart choice. That didn't always turn out that way. There's one more thing I want to talk to you about, and that's the international break. The Turkish national team, obviously, they got a point against Wales, then they lost against Montenegro. Simi finally got some minutes, Kartal, and it's, of course, in a game where we're losing 3-1 to Montenegro, and Turkey desperately needs a goal. How is it possible that Mr. Vincenzo Montella thinks Simi is so bad that he doesn't give him a single minute since the Euros? Not a single minute. However, when he needed a goal against the Netherlands, he put him on. In garbage time, but he put him on. And now when he needed a goal desperately against Montenegro, he puts him on. So he must seem to think that Simi is good enough to score a goal, but he's not good enough to play in matches that would actually give the kid some confidence. Can you still, with a straight face, say that Montella is not just fucking with Simi just to fuck with him?
I think he does have he does have a dislike towards Semi because I think of the backlash he got last year for dropping him out of the team. Well, not last year, but last season in March.
Yeah.
So I think because of the media storm and the backlash from especially obviously our fans and our community, I think he does have an issue with Semi because of that, and I think that's ridiculous for a 50-year-old man to have an issue with a 19-year-old boy, just because his fans rightfully were very angry that he was wrongfully dropped out.
I mean, he was treated like garbage then. Like, I think Montella continues to treat him like garbage. I think it's absolutely disgraceful the way he treats Semi. And look, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say Semi should be starting every match because I've been critical of Semi this season. I don't think he has been good.
Yep,
but Barış Alper Yılmaz, who has started, I think, all but 2 matches since the Euros as the striker, he's not playing well this season either. He's not having a good season. And he's terrible as a striker. He's absolute dog shit. The statistics don't lie. 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 chances created or something like that. Almost no shots at all. Wins like less than 50% of his duels. Like, he isn't good at all in that position. I'm not saying Barış Alper Yılmaz shouldn't be playing. You can play him as a right back. You can play him under circumstances as a winger. I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's top 2 best winger in Turkey right now of the Turkish national team. I think there's better options, including Kerem Aktürkoğlu, Yunus Akgün, İrfan Can Kahveci, Kenan if you want to play him out wide, Arda if you want to play him out wide. All those guys are better. Obviously Kenan and Arda are better centrally. But I think when you don't have an option as a striker, like there's people like even Beşiktaş fans who say, but Kaan, Semi doesn't deserve to play. Neither does Barış Alper Yılmaz. You don't have better options up top. People say, okay, Enes Unal. Enes Unal just came back from a really hard injury. If Enes Unal was ready to play, don't you think he would have put him on instead of Simi against Montenegro? There's a reason he put Simi on and not Enes.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because Enes isn't ready, and let's be honest, Enes has been very underwhelming in his full international career.
Oh yeah, he's been 3 goals in 35 matches or something. I mean, there's people out there saying that Enes should be the starter. There's no discussion about it, but there's definitely a discussion about it because Enes has never been really good for the Turkish national team. I agree he deserves a run because in the past he was always like behind Burak Yılmaz, behind Cenk Tosun. This is the first time that Enes is going to have a proper chance of being number 1, and he should definitely get a run. But I think Simi, I mean, who is more ready than Simi? Bertu Yildirim isn't more ready than Simi right now. So he is the most ready striker at the moment. So Simi should be getting 30, 20 minutes per match. Instead, ever since the Euros, he came on in minute 82 in this game. So he got what? 12 minutes? That's all he's had. And we've played how many matches since the Euros? 7, 8?
I think 6.
No, I think it's more than 6. But it might be 6. So let's say it's 6. 12 minutes and 6 matches. And fair enough, one of those international breaks he had to drop out injured. But there's been 3 international breaks and this is the first time he's gotten minutes. And even before the Euros, he got only 45 minutes in one game. And he didn't get any minutes in other games, if I'm not mistaken. So 45 minutes before the Euros, 4 minutes during the Euros, and now 12 minutes after the Euros. The kid hasn't even gotten a full 90 minutes yet.
Yeah, it's shocking, man.
It's disgraceful. Montella continues to absolutely bully him, really. Like, I just for that, I think Montella should be sacked.
Look, I said this at the time, man, when we done the Euros review. Like, we got to the quarterfinals despite of Montella, not because of Montella.
I think so as well. We played, I think, 2 good games at the Euros, maybe.
Yeah, I think we played good against Georgia and we played good against the Netherlands.
Played good against Georgia, but that match could just easily ended in a draw. It ends 3-1 right at the end, but
because they had a lot of chances at the end.
yeah, it could have.
We hit them off the counter from a corner because our goalie came up.
Yeah. So what? I don't even remember. Who did we play in the first game?
We played Georgia. We played
Georgia in the first game. Then we got trashed by Portugal because he fielded a B team, but didn't get a B team, but without giving Simi any minutes. Yunus Agun, who at the time did not deserve to even be at the Euros, got the start in that game. Then against the Czech Republic, they got a red card after 10 minutes, and we still squeaked by. It was not a comfortable win.
Well, shite. Honestly, I mean, I didn't watch the full game because that I was in Newcastle. It was my wedding anniversary. We went there for an overnight stay, and when we came, just as we were travelling back, that game was on. And then I watched the last 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, we look shit, man.
Yeah, we weren't good. And then
the Czech team actually looked better than us.
If it was 11 versus 11, there's no chance we would have beaten them. Absolutely no chance. And then I even think Patrick Schick was injured.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And then Cenk scored that. Cenk bailed us out basically with a great goal.
Yeah.
Only good thing he done all tournament. Then against Austria, first half we defended really well. We were probably the better team. Özcan was referring to in the group chat, the three in the back. It was a tactic that worked really well in that first half. But in that we scored 2 goals, but in that second half we get pummeled.
We scored 2 goals, but that second one in particular was completely against the run of play. That was very undeserved, I thought. And that was just Arda's quality shining through with set pieces.
Yeah.
And then
because it was 1-0, then 1-1, then 2-1, wasn't it?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
In that second half, they fucking pummeled us, man.
Yeah.
They missed so many chances. Matt played a great game. Mary was heroic.
Yeah.
But they absolutely pummeled us in the second half.
Yeah.
You can't look at that game objectively and say, we deserved that. We didn't. We should have lost.
Yeah.
We were lucky.
Yeah, I mean, it was having a hard... Özcan was making the argument of, but his tactical choices won us that game. But...
What in the first half? We're not in the second half.
Yeah, second half, that was just individual heroics by players.
Yeah.
And then missing...
Özcan's point is that the tactic was very efficient in the first half.
Yeah, but you need to remember, we go 1-0 up after just a minute. You can't even... I don't think it matters whether you play 3 at the back or 4 at the back. If you go a goal up straight away, that puts you in such a comfortable position. That's like us against Galatasaray in the Super Cup. We immediately score. That completely changes that match.
Yeah.
And the thing is, okay, the 3 at the back worked first half, but then their coach makes changes, and Montella does not respond. He changes in the 58th minute. He puts on Salih Özcan because of an injury to who was it? I think Fenerbahçe's Ismail Yüksek. I think he got injured, so he put Salih on. That was a forced substitution. He didn't make any tactical tweaks until minute 70 something, and we were, like you said, we were getting pummeled. And then it's the save of the tournament that saves us right at the end. That was one of the best saves I've ever seen in my entire life from Mert. And
one of my friends asked if we'd give Celtic Mert after that game.
What did you say? Yeah, sure. 5 million.
I said if you bring 5 million, yeah.
Yeah. And that's Montella gets so much credit for those Euros. He gets so much credit. And
then if the Netherlands game though, that was that's where I say it was despite of him, because we were better than the Netherlands, man.
Yeah.
We were. The first half we were by far the better team.
Yeah.
But then the second half, what the fuck did they do, Can? He made us sit back until we conceded 2 goals back to back.
Yeah.
After we conceded 2 goals back to back, What does he do? He brings on Cenk,
He
who's a
puts
striker.
Cenk on, and then right and like the last, like
And suddenly, what happens after he brings on Cenk? What happens, Ken?
yeah, we create.
We start
We start creating chances.
Like 3-4 chances in the last 25 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
We had 3 or 4 100% chances. Semi came on, unfortunately, played very well.
Almost
Had one
scored. World save, amazing save by the goalkeeper.
Like, that just shows you, like, we played good in the first half. Second half, we sit back like pussies until we go 2-1 down. And he only responds too late.
Yeah.
After we concede 2 goals. And see when he do responds and he lets the team play with a striker.
Yeah.
We showed that we were better than the Netherlands because they couldn't handle us, man.
And don't I think do you agree that Kata, like I think he deliberately plays without a striker now because of the media as well. Like I think he's trying to prove a point or something. Like he's just
I don't know, because if you remember his second season at Adana Demir, he used that same system where he played Belhanda as a false nine. You remember?
yeah, but he had Asson Balonga, didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he use Asson Balonga as like a striker coming in behind or something? Like he played him on the wing, but like he.
Perhaps. I do remember Belhanda being down as a false nine in a lot of the games. I do remember seeing that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have Belhanda now. Like he's had a few times where he used Kenan and he used Arda in that role, and that worked. But he uses Barış Alper Yılmaz almost every time, and Barış Alper Yılmaz is useless in that role. He's really fucking bad. Like I didn't understand. Like a lot of people were hyping him during the Euros, including people like foreigners were like, "Oh, this guy is great." Like I was watching on Belgian television. It's like, "Oh, this Barış Alper Yılmaz, you know, he has 3 lungs and yeah, he can keep running like a horse, but he's fucking useless in that role." Like he presses and he runs, but
He played good whenever he was pulled out to the wing.
yeah, as soon as he was pulled to the wing, he played decent. But as a striker, you can also tell like some wingers, like I think Kerem Aktürkoğlu, he has the instincts to play as a striker. I think you could play Kerem Aktürkoğlu in that role and he would do well because he has instincts of a proper goal scoring attacker. But Barış Alper Yılmaz doesn't have those instincts. You can tell he feels like a fish out of water in that role, and he doesn't perform there. It doesn't come natural to him. It's super awkward. It's like trying to watch a fish walk on land. You know, did you ever play Pokemon or did you ever watch the show Pokemon when you were a kid, Kartal?
I played a lot of Pokemon.
Do you know Magikarp? You know Magikarp, right?
Yeah, of course.
All he does is like flapper around on the floor. That's Barış Alper Yılmaz playing as a striker.
That splash, it was the only move Magikarp had, and it wouldn't give any damage every time you used that move. 0 damage.
Oh man.
Another thing though as well is like, to be honest with you, I didn't watch the games. I outside the big tournaments.
I spite watched it, man. I spite watched it. This last game against Montenegro, I spite watched the fuck out of that. Something
that makes me laugh is after the game, I saw like a statement he made. He said, "Oh, maybe I should have went more on physical prowess than technical ability in this game." Like, why the fuck? Like, what's the point in you saying that after the game, right? You do it before the game because you know that pitch is water.
It's fucking raining like shit, and I mean, seriously.
Like you need, in these scenarios, you need strong players and like a striker at least that can hold up the ball a wee bit, bring people into the play. You need, like, you're not going to play the beautiful football. You need like physical prowess, man.
Yeah, I mean, he should have played Bertu Yildirim in this game, I think, honestly, because he's tall. He can get at the end of a cross, and like there were many moments in this match where they crossed the ball and there was just nobody there. It's like
exactly, you need someone there, man. Especially in these situations, you're not going to win these games playing beautiful football in these pitches, man.
Maybe he should fucking call up Serdar Dursun or Cenk or something. I know they're not. I know Cenk isn't playing much at all, but like,
a striker.
You need a striker, exactly, and like. Simi isn't ideal for that either, right? Because Simi isn't very tall. Simi isn't the guy you cross the ball towards either. So, it's not even like these conditions weren't ideal for Simi either. But like, Simi should have been getting minutes in the previous matches against Wales, or the previous game against Montenegro, or the previous game against Wales, or whatever. Like, Simi should have been getting minutes throughout. I'm not saying he should be starting, but he got fuck all. And like,
like this is Kieran Akhterkol. Why is he taking that penalty against Wales when you've got Orkun Kukucu, who is the penalty taker for Benfica?
I don't know.
Like, why is two guys that play in the same team? One of them is notorious for fucking up chances, right? Although he's like, I really rate Kieran.
Yeah.
A good player, but he's notorious for fucking chances. And you've got a guy that actually plays in the same club team as well, and is that club team's penalty taker.
Yeah.
But why is the other guy that's notorious for fucking up chances taking that penalty? Like, the statement about the going for more physical prowess on that type of pitch, that's like Captain Hindsight from South Park.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's just like you're there to think of these things before it happens.
You get paid for that shit, man. Like, fuck you, seriously. And then, like, I'm kind of torn because, like, if you fire him, who comes in his place, right? But at least I think if you fire this bastard, at least then I think whoever comes next, Beşiktaş players never get a fair shake. But at least I think if Sergen comes or whatever, at least then I think Semi will get like 15, 20 minutes every game.
I think there's two options, man. You either bring in Sergen, who I think the national team job is perfect for, because you don't need to do anywhere near as much work. And I think that suits Sergen, man. I think when he's motivated, he can be a good coach. We saw that when he came in 2020, the way he saw it, and the year after we won the double. We've seen that he's motivated. He can be a good coach.
Yeah.
And can make adjustments on the fly and do tweaks. They can win you games, like we've seen that.
Yeah.
Like, even in situations where he's got a lot of adversity, like a lot of injuries and stuff like that. We've seen how they can perform in scenarios like this. Plus, the lesser workload, it should stop the fatigue, hopefully keep him motivated for longer as well. So it could be ideal for him.
Yeah.
I think he's one option. The other option would be to see, if you really want to search and find a guy like maybe Ralf Rangnick that can create a system for in the federation.
Yeah.
Because I think that what he's doing in Austria just now is very important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the rise of the Austrian national team is 100% thanks to that. Yeah,
and the Red Bull system and what he's created, and the fact that he's now implementing that same philosophy in the national team as well. Like, see, really, I mean, even if I still think we are missing that, man. Like, I think Brad Friedel, I'm undecided on him, man. If he's good or bad, obviously he needs more time.
It's just impossible to tell. We don't know what he's been responsible for and what not. We only know glimpses of it. Like, we know he was instrumental in bringing in both Felix and Emirhan.
It's huge because they're arguably the two best transfers in terms of longevity. But I think, see, if Brad is our guy, he should be given the full control. And he's just allotted a budget from the board.
But Turks don't like that, man. Turks always want to keep control.
And then we can judge him properly. And then we can say, do we need him or somewhere else? But we really need a proper sporting brain, I think, making the decisions.
That's never going to happen in Turkey.
Same thing applies for the national team too. You don't think so?
I think one of the biggest issues with the national team is that there's a lot of politics.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of external pressures. There's a lot of for example, you can't possibly explain why Yunus Akgün went to the Euros.
He had a disaster of a season, barely played.
You cannot possibly and there was Oğuz Aydın, who had a great season at Alanyaspor at the time. There were other players who were coming off of really good seasons and really deserved to go. Oğuz Aydın being the biggest example, probably. Yunus Akgün had no business in going. Samet Akaydın had no business in going. Samet Akaydın still there, still getting regular playing time from Mr. Montella. Like, there's a lot of players in the national team that you cannot explain what they're doing there. And then there's other players who either aren't there or either just aren't getting any chances. Like, and it's been like that forever. That's not just a new thing. That's not just a now thing. That's always been the case. Like, even way back when Nuri Şahin was in his prime, he was one of the players you would think Turkey should build around and should make central. But he was constantly pushed to the wayside for other players. For lesser players. I know Selçuk İnan at the time was really good for Trabzon and for Galatasaray, but Nuri Şahin was playing for Real Madrid and stuff like that, you know? Like, that's a different level. And there's always been stuff like that where, especially players who play for Galatasaray and Fenerbahçe as well to a lesser extent, but like those players always, like Semih Kaya was playing like 3 games for Galatasaray and he was on the national team starting straight away.
Okay, same with Taylan Antalya as well.
Yeah, and now as soon as he left Galatasaray, he didn't get a single call up.
Yeah, because he wasn't good anyway.
No, he wasn't. Of course, he wasn't. He wasn't Turkish national team level, but it's like Berkan Kutlu as well. Like, if you play for Galatasaray, you get free caps. You just do. That's just the way it is. If you play for Beşiktaş, not so much. You need to be really fucking good.
Yeah.
And even if you are really fucking good, sometimes you don't get to play.
I mean, look at a great example, man. Samet Akaydın can make an unlimited amount of mistakes and still play.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't watch it, but allegedly made 2 mistakes on their goals.
Gets yoinked straight away.
Yeah.
Abdülkerim Bardakçı, how many mistakes has he made?
Tons, but still plays every game.
Still plays every game. All right, let's end the episode, Kartal. Let's get into the comments. Would you do the honors, please?
Yeah. I'll just skip the ones we've already kind of done. Anyway, that's the wrong video. You get those. Black Eagles podcast.
And by the way, guys, for you watching, thank you very much. Whether you're joining us in the live chat or not, please remember to leave a like to the video and don't forget to share with your friends and subscribe if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, Black Eagle VIP, go to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast and you will gain access to exclusive content, including a weekly audio podcast exclusively for VIP members.
So we just had Carlito say good evening, BJK SuperApples at the start. Good evening, Carlito. Muzafer put 4 cartel emojis or eagle emojis, and then 25 million super app. Hopefully 25 million. I doubt it. At least
I hope so. Yeah, definitely not at the start, but let's hope it. If that could turn into that. By the way, Kartal, did you see that Galatasaray are? It's the first time I ever heard about it, but they are working hard on their own app. Apparently, did you see that?
It's funny that copying straight away. Yeah. I mean, that's a DNA, man. They copy everything of ours, man. Like our chance. Yeah. Then it's just the stuff from Özkan about Talisca. We've already spoke about that. Mahmut Koçarslan has wrote, I think there is 5 to 6 slots for non-national players, but I'm pretty sure they will remove that before the season start, basically before next season. I mean, as far as I'm aware, it's from under the age of 24, it's unlimited, but over that, it's only 3 and they need to have played in 75%.
They didn't really specify. I hope it is unlimited, because if it's not, then it's pretty damn shit.
The 75% thing's all this shit crap, man. I really hope that's they take that back. And then if it's just unlimited under 24 and then only 3 over 24, I think that's a brilliant rule and really encourages investing in
Yeah.
young foreign players, which I think is something we really need in the country. And I think 3 is still plenty for getting in the experience,
Yeah.
like kind of marquee signings.
Yeah, exactly. You can still sign your Chiros, your Rafas, your Polistas, and then on top of that, you can fill the other positions with either good Turks or with good young foreigners.
Yeah. Okay, Carlito says Sinan looks like as if you're drinking Kızılay soda. I think he was actually having a beer. And with the Beşiktaş shirt on, peak Turkishness. Sinan will be happy to hear that because he's been called out for being a fake Turk in the past. Sunshine Man. As management, you can make any or all improvements to our stadium. That is all nice. At the end of the day, even if this was a more bland and ordinary building, the fan will start coming alive only. I don't really understand what you're saying there, Sunshine Man, to be honest. Is he saying that the fans will still come even if it's not nice? Maybe.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're successful, then yeah. But I mean,
yeah.
we can only applaud improvements to the facilities, right?
I mean, obviously, if it was ugly, we'd still go. But if it's good, that's a good thing, man. Like, it's nothing to complain about. So then he wrote when the team shreds the opponents, so less plays like that. So he's basically saying he's wrote 2 comments. So I've understood what he means by the second comment. So he's saying basically, even if it was an ugly stadium, if the team's playing good football, the fans will go anyway, and that is more important. Of course, that is, but of course, it's important to have a good stadium as well. Mario Vargas has said, "What's up, Eagles?" And then, Karen, this is what I was saying earlier. You'd said that you'd never heard anyone say a bad word about Mr. Very Important Person, according to the Washkin, Arieje. Sunshine Man, again, has said, no offence to anyone else, but Arieje is a narcissist. Unlike you, I think he's trying to promote himself always.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that he has bad taste in players and his talent is whether he's a good judge of talent is, that's what I've always had the impression that Arieje is has a very keen eye for talent. Maybe he's a narcissist, that's possible, but I think you need to be a little bit of a narcissist to be on television and stuff like that.
Right, so the Sunshine Man again, thank you very much for all these comments, Sunshine Man. He's wrote Libyan Maserati, not Maserati. He's not necessarily a physically imposing player, but he enables the forward section to function more freely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in some ways he is, man. Like, he's a tall, big guy.
Yeah, he looks like an ox.
He's
like a moose.
Or a moose. Uzjan came up with that umbrella, but I know what you mean, man. Like, he's not like fast. He's a bit slow in that sense, but he's a big strong guy, man. And I wouldn't want to be shoulder bards by him, man, on the 5-a-side pitch if I was playing against him.
He doesn't play super physical though.
Yeah, he doesn't. But he's a very good positional defender, and I actually think that this season he's shown more bite in his play. He's been a bit more of what the kind of 6 Turks want. Obviously, he's still not like a Joseph or a Torreira or an Apia, but he's shown a bit more of that kind of bite.
Yeah, but the Torreira, for example, he's a midget, but he's like a pit bull. Like he's more. Yeah, he's really good. Obviously, he's a really good player, but he's a very different type, I think.
Then Umar says, "When is Ahmed Kutucu coming? Maybe January. Umar will soon see."
Would you be good with that? Would you think that's a good transfer?
For depth, man, why not?
Yeah.
Not as a start, but if they bring him for depth, that's fine. Sunshine Man, again, thank you very much, man. You've been a great contributor today. I actually watched Tab Ramos in the World Cup. He is truly a good soccer person, but Turks cannot live without smearing shit on anyone who's new to the club.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a very good comment.
Fair. I mean, I think most of the people who are shit talking him, that's probably like teenagers who have never heard of him on Twitter and stuff like that. I get that impression a lot. It's a lot of ergenler, just
possibly. It seems like it's just a lot of people just seeing it as this Friedel's guy, and then there's this negative narrative about Friedel just now.
Yeah, which is completely unjustified. There's no reason for there to be a negative narrative around Friedel at all. I mean, the only reason that I think that people kind of started shitting on him is because he was unable to sell Ox. But like, would you buy Ox? You know?
No.
I mean, we were able to. I mean, I think we cleaned house for the most part. The fact that we got rid of Rebic and he left money on the table is a win for me.
Yeah.
Like, what can you honestly expect, that somebody's gonna pay you 2.5 million euros for him?
Yeah.
Like, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're Fenerbahçe and you can source money through a club and put your own, like, you know, black money in there and have them pay for you, but it's really your own money. Like, you know, maybe then. But come on, let's be honest, man.
Yeah. Sunshine Man has said that as Umar Gunal, or famous Umar Abi. I don't know who Umar Abi is, to be honest, so I can't answer that. Sinan.
He's talking about Umar Gunal, yeah.
Yeah,
Sunshine Man is Mary Abi.
I see.
Yeah, that's Sunshine.
I see. I understand. Right, so Sinan wrote the one and only Senor Gunal, and Umar puts laughing faces. So Umar said it looks like Sinan is smoking off screen. I hope he wasn't, man. This is a sports podcast. We can't be promoting that on here.
I don't smoke.
Neither do I, man.
Never
I don't
have.
smoke. Let's see. Guzarian Sandler has said Serambros. M. Sarper has said, "Hey bros, always pleasure to catch you online." I don't know how those, but he said about the join button, which we spoke about. We need 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of watch time within a year, but for that to be enabled. But it's something we can look at down the line. Is there an alternative to Patreon, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's... I like Patreon because you have full control and stuff like that. And but the thing with I think with the join button on YouTube, the advantage there is it's easier. People see it. They click on it easier. It's much easier than them having to download a Patreon app, go on Patreon, register to Patreon. You know, when you're all... It's easier in that regard.
Yep. And then Uskan said, "Keep up God's work." Thank you, man. We will do. Guzarian Sandler wrote, "Full blood Chachi, black and white flags and a love heart." Carlito del Carmen: "If the Beşiktaş media team was actually any good, you would potentially tap into some Italian fans." I agree. I think it's a disgrace that they've not done anything about that song.
Yeah, they really should have. Like, supposedly they filmed something with Chiro, but nothing happened with it or something.
Yeah, I mean they need to use that. They should have used that 2 weeks ago, because I think in Italy just now that's like the number one on the charts.
It is.
I'm making up that it's number one. I'm just kind of.
It is in Italy. It's number one.
See, that's crazy, man. And it's got Beşiktaş in it. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not happy to that? Like, they're going about the streets, like, you're starting the rap to some people, and people are completing the words. So
Yeah.
that shows you how good it is. And like, there's even other things like Italians are saying, "Oh, like girls are singing this song, but do you know what Beşiktaş is?" Then I think maybe like a Turkish Italian girl wrote, said, "Yes, we know what Beşiktaş is, but you guys don't even know how to pronounce it properly."
They should invite them to the stadium and have them during halftime perform the song live.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like when they go tiki taka and the entire stadium goes Beşiktaş? Could you imagine that? How fucking amazing that would be. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You just invite them over and you know, they can use it for promotional material, for a video clip or whatever. You pay them some money.
Yep. Right. Sunshine Man. I'm just going to start calling him Mary Ari instead of calling him Sunshine Man every time. By the way, they are working on the final points / kinks, and soon there will be some announcement. The remote living expats like us shall be able to join the congressman status from where we live through the app. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about being able to apply for being a congress member. I don't think there's been anything official on that. Maybe I'm wrong.
But the problem with that as well is that you need a Turkish passport. Otherwise, I would have been a Congress member for a long time already. I don't have a Turkish passport.
An ID card's probably, I suppose, but you don't have citizenship at all, do you?
I don't have citizenship, no.
You could get it easily.
I could get it, but it's such a hassle, man. I need to go to the embassy and stuff like that, and it's just, I mean, there's no real benefit to having it. Like, I can go to Turkey, I buy a visa, no problem. Like, it's what, 20 euros for a visa or something? Like, if I get the citizenship, then I have to deal with a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. I have to go to Brussels for the embassy, and yeah. I looked into it again earlier this year to get the Congress membership, but I need the Turkish passport. It's impossible without it, apparently.
One thing for you, Can, is you get out of the army probably, man, which is quite good. People like me don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, but you say that, but I would probably still have to go over to Turkey and do like tests and stuff, probably. So that's also part of the reason why I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, whereas in 38 you need to do it by, so in 12 years' time, man, either I'll need to pay $5,000 to get
I'll just wait 3 years, I'll be 39 and I don't have to deal with it anymore.
That's a good idea, man. You should do that. Let's see. So yes, Sinan has said that we were talking about linking the EU app, so we spoke about that. I'll skip that. Sunshine Man, or Mary Abbey, he's talking about the women's team, which we already touched on.
Yeah, he was talking about the basketball girls as well, how they're doing great at the moment.
Yeah, against Benfica, yeah, he said that.
And I think Mary Abbey is one of the people I know that actually really watches a lot of the girls' matches. Because I remember like a while ago, we had a game and we like lost a point, I think, in like the final seconds because Vanessa made a mistake. I hadn't even seen it yet. He was like, "Oh, did you see that mistake from Vanessa? It was paint."
He's probably the biggest Beşiktaş fan out of all of us then, man, if he's watching all of it.
Yeah, he definitely is, man. He like watches everything religiously.
Yeah, I just watched the men's football team, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest, I sometimes catch some basketball games and I try to catch some of the girls from time to time, but I'm not like religiously watching all of it. Like, it's very sporadic.
Let's see.
I'm first and foremost a football fan as well. Like, I mean, basketball for me is like, I like basketball fine, but it's like, you know.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm just a Beşiktaş football fan, and I'm not. I wouldn't even call myself a proper football fan.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Sinan said that he loved that you point Can about the passion about the girls' team. He said he saw a bit of that game. Let's see. Mary Abbey said we weren't penalised by UEFA. Our very own government said they can't guarantee security. UEFA previously told us we can play in Turkey. UEFA is not the culprit, the Turkish government is. Yeah, I disagree with that.
I disagree with that as well, because I think it's very easy for UEFA to... Like, UEFA could have known this. They knew this beforehand, and they still decided not to, like...
Yeah, they should have made it impossible for us to play.
Exactly, yeah. We shouldn't have even been able to draw them. It's very... This is just a way for UEFA to not get any blame, basically, but they should 100% get blame. Yeah. Obviously, the government is leaving us hanging here as well, but, you know.
Yeah, of course. Sinan said, love you guys, I'm missing politics to them. I mean, he missed us talk about, we got a bit political. I really hope this isn't taken down from YouTube for an anti-Israeli sentiment. I mean,
it's not anti-Israeli. I have no issues with
either that. But you know the way like the media is.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, there's a difference. I think Well, you know what? I mean, anti-Israeli, that's one thing. I mean, as long as they don't label it anti-Semitism, because I really think that's disgusting if you do that. Like, there's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between being critical of what Israel is doing, which is clearly war crimes, and you know, like that's not the same as saying like death to all, blah blah blah, or anything like that. Like I definitely don't, you know, I don't have any of that sentiment. Like,
I don't want to with Israeli people or Jewish people in general. I just condemn the government's actions.
I actually have I have friends who live in Israel. One of them actually lives close to Tel Aviv. He's actually Muslim though, but
so he would be happy with what's going on.
No, I mean, it's not. I mean, a lot of people there are scared too, man. Like a lot of people are just, you know, it's not fun for them either, you know. Like if you remember a few years ago when there were like all these terrorist attacks in Europe, like I think everyone felt unsafe. And that's how those people have to probably feel every day. Like they fear terrorist attacks and stuff like that. And that's not a fun way to live, you know? But the same can be said about the people in Palestine. Like, how do you think they feel, you know? Like, they're being treated as subhuman. Anyway, this is not a political show, so I think, you know.
So many said that France has a major Muslim population. So I think that's just going what we were talking about earlier. Obviously, it's not. It's still predominantly Christian or maybe atheist these days. I don't know.
Well, but France has a very big Muslim population. There's a lot of Algerians, a lot of Moroccans there. Like, if Maccabi or any Israeli team would have to play there, like, you know, Israel played there last week during the international break, and like the stadium had the lowest attendance ever. There was only 20,000 people there in the Parc. Was the Parc des Princes? And like there were heavy issues outside the stadium before and all that kind of stuff. Like you when it comes to Israel right now and Maccabi and all that, there's so much negativity. Like, you can't really guarantee safety right now, because even like it's not just Muslims, it's lots of people, like whether they're Christian or whatever, they see what's going on and they feel it's wrong, and it just takes one crazy bastard to blow himself up, you know, like that doesn't, I mean, that's why I said as well, like, you can't guarantee safety. Yeah, you can guarantee it within reason, but you can never 100% guarantee safety. But I do think that if you just very simply, like Lyon did with us, say no away fans, and then you just assign security, you know, national security to protect the Maccabi team, I think it's very easy to guarantee safety within reason. But they clearly weren't able. They clearly were not willing to do that, which I kind of understand as well. Like, they don't want. Like, it would be kind of hypocritical in a sense of Turkey, who are very opposed to what's happening with Israel and all that kind of stuff, for them to then, like, you know, guarantee their safety. I don't know. It feels weird, I guess, you know.
So after that, Sinan said it was a hard choice about who he'd like as president if Arat wasn't to run. To be honest, no one answered that question. I'm quite disappointed, man, because I thought that was a good talking point.
It's a good talking point. I just think it's a really tough question. I feel like it's like picking between, would you like to get punched in the nuts, to get punched on the chin, or to get punched in, like, I don't know, the gut or something, you know? That's how that choice feels.
It does, but it's kind of seeming like that's what's going to happen, to be honest, unfortunately.
I hope not. I really hope Hasan Arat. But I've there was some stuff like a few weeks ago with the Galatasaray derby. They were saying that Hasan Arat wasn't going to go because he was ill. I think he ended up going, but they're like, you know, they were talking about him being ill and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, maybe he's having some health issues or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like it could be the case.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Hopefully he's fine. Eren has said, bloody Demi, he didn't just waste money buying finance rejects. He wasted them on mediocre players from Gaziantepspor too. 8 million for Tabata remains our most controversial transfer.
Still plays, by the way, that guy. 43 years old, still plays for Al Rayyan.
I'd best that, but I think there's a more controversial transfer there. Gordon Scheinfeld.
Yeah.
The guy that saw multiples. Like, how did he pass a fucking medical, man?
Gordon Schildenfeld. And he ended up being a Croatian international after as well. I think he played at the 2008 Euros.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He still had a good career afterwards.
So maybe
horrible hairline.
His eyes must have not been that bad then, to be honest.
I mean, we had so many bad transfers in that period, and yeah.
That one just rings a bell because it just like you just remember that one because it apparently saw like multiples, like his eyes were fucked. Like you'd see like 2 or 3 of the same thing.
I don't know.
But that seems hard to believe.
He still had a good career though. So
yeah. And then there's some other guy, man. Like was a left back. His name began with like a C or something.
Seric. Stefan Seric.
That's the one. Probably
barely played. I don't think he played a single game, or maybe some friendlies. I don't remember him playing.
See when we signed him, Can I remember my dad said to me and my brother, because most of the time at that point he'd go on the PC and read the news. And then he'd tell us, he's like, we've signed this guy called Seric. Apparently Panathinaikos had a party when he left. He's that bad. I remember my dad telling me that when we signed this guy, and then I remember like he just like didn't play at all. And he was one of the to get like terminated like 6 months later.
I used to play Pro Evolution Soccer back then, and I remember he was one of the few players we had that had like a real face.
Yeah.
And he got like number 7 on the shirt and stuff like that. And I don't remember him playing a single match. I don't remember seeing him play. Maybe in some friendlies, but like I don't remember him seeing him in an official match.
Yeah.
There's
so many guys like that, like Higuain actually went on to have a good career.
I liked him, but he had this. He scored a really good falling headed goal against Fenerbahçe in a derby that we lost 3-2, and it was like the 94th minute, and he scored, and it was 3-3, and they disallowed that goal. I always felt that if that goal, there was nothing there. It was a clean goal, 100% clean goal. I always felt that if that goal would have stood, that would have given him the momentum to have a really good career with us. And because they took that away from him, I always just kind of felt like they sabotaged him a bit. I actually, you know what, Cattle? I'm going to show you something. Because we're talking about Higuain right now. Give me a minute. Because I have it here.
Oh, there we go. I know 708. Federico Higuain shot. Is there a patch on that? I can't see it.
Match worn.
She actually really likes it.
Oh, here it is. The Champions League patch.
I can see it. Yeah, that's really cool, man. I actually like that shot.
Like that. Here you go. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear you. So yeah, that was a match-worn Champions League shirt.
I actually liked that shot, man, back in the day.
Yeah, it was a good shirt. I liked it too.
I think it was very, very similar to the England shot at the time, if you look at that.
That's possible, I don't know. Were they also Umbro? I mean, they were Umbro for the longest time, so I guess maybe they were.
Oh, yeah.
No, I like that shirt too. There's quite a few of those Umbro shirts I really liked, especially at the time. I think some of them didn't age very well, and they kind of look shit now.
They look very kind of 2000s, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They don't go well with like if you bring it back in 2024, you'd be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
man? You know?
yeah.
And it's a lot of the shirts from the 90s are actually, or the early 2000s, like Puma shirts, like still look nice now.
Yeah. There's the striped one we had that season. I also have that. I have a Bobo one, actually in a bag here somewhere. Also Champions League shirt. That one I think definitely holds up. That's one of the best Chubuklus we've had. I really love that one. Don't know if you remember the one we we didn't wear it against Liverpool, but we wore it. Which games did we?
Against Marseille.
Against Zurich, I guess, and against Marseille. So I really like that one. That's one of my favorite Chubuklus of all time. I really like it. I just love it when the Chubuklu just continues on the sleeves. And when you don't have Adidas, it's much easier to do that. Because with Adidas, you always have the 3 stripes, and that kind of makes it hard, a little difficult, I think, to make the design look good still. But when you have a brand like Puma, or you have a brand like Umbro or Nike, it's much easier to just have a clean striped shirt with striped arms. And more often than not, our striped shirts have just plain black sleeves, and I prefer the sleeves to also be striped. So
yeah, no, I see what you mean, man. It's like continuation of the design, but I don't think we've had any with Adidas that have been like that.
We have one more, the striped one from Reebok.
So that's Reebok, it's not Adidas. I'm saying Adidas haven't done one like that.
Oh, Adidas. Adidas have a couple, but they're from the 90s. Do you want me to get one? I have one in the closet right there, if you want.
Is that the one that's got the collar?
Yeah, that one has also continuation with stripes on the on the sleeves, but it looks a little different, obviously.
Yeah. So the last comment we had from Carlito was, Montella will waste this generation. He needs to go. Someone better should get. We both kind of agreed with that.
I feel like right now there was the same with Belgium. Belgium had a lot more talent than this Turkish generation. I think this Turkish generation has a couple of really good talents, but I wouldn't say this is like a golden generation just yet. It needs more pieces. But I felt the same way with Belgium and the Martinez. I felt like there was a point where Martinez got them to a certain point, but he wasn't good enough to get them further. And I feel like the first 2 years or so on the Martinez were good. He did a lot of good things, don't get me wrong. But then I feel like they wasted 4 years or whatever with Martinez. And I kind of feel like now, because Montella, because of the Euros, because of all the credit he's built up, I think what Montella did to get Turkey to the Euros was amazing, because Turkey was in a position where they weren't going to go under Stefan Kuntz. We were really shit. He came in, he turned it around. He deserves all credit for that, I think. He got us to the dance. But then at the Euros, I think I fully agree with you that we performed well in spite of him, or in fact I think we just lucked out. I think we got very lucky against the Czech Republic. I think we got lucky against Austria. We played a good game against Georgia, but we got lucky there too, as we just discussed. So that's 3 games. Against Portugal we were terrible, and then against the Netherlands he completely threw it away. There isn't a single full 90 where we were really good. Like, you cannot compare these Euros to, for example, the 2002 World Cup. You just can't. In 2002, we were a really good, formidable side. I think at these Euros, we were fortunate with the details. The details kind of fell in our favor. But we could have just as easy had a terrible campaign where we went out with just 3 points in the group stages. And then everyone would be talking shit. But now, because we did go as far as we did, and we almost even equalized against the Netherlands, and it kind of looks like, maybe we could have even gone further. What if? Now he gets all this credit, and I don't think he deserves it. I just really don't think he deserves it. I think he is now coasting on that performance, and he's going to get more time than he actually probably should, and he's going to probably cost us the 2026 World Cup now. I really believe.
Yeah.
I don't see us qualifying for the World Cup. We might, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, I honestly feel, man, like if he was a good coach, we beat the Netherlands, because I think on that day we were better than the Netherlands. The players, because I think we had really good moments. Like we played some nice football against Georgia. Not good defensively. We played good football for good parts of the game against Holland as well.
Mm-hmm.
Parts against Austria.
Don't forget, by the way, like Arda Güler had to like earn his spots. Like he didn't just like Montella didn't make Arda Güler better. Arda just came and demanded his spot, because initially Arda was like, and even throughout the tournament was kind of used a little too sparingly, even, I would say. And the same can be said about Kenan.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Arda didn't start against Portugal was strange to me, man. Like he should have always, like, only brought him on after it was 3-0, man. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna rest him, then why bring him on?
Why do you go into the hardest game of the groups with a B team? Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, because he's a coward. And
The thing is, like, see, Portugal, I said at the time, they were fucking shit. They didn't play good football in that game. We gifted them that game.
Yeah.
Gifted them it. Two of the goals were complete gifts.
We made them. We made them look good. We gave them a confidence booster. We do what so many. We do what Rizespor did for Fenerbahçe and Galatasaray.
Yeah, like after that game, one of my pals were like, Portugal seemed really good. They destroyed Turkey and stuff like that. I was like, they were rubbish, man. Like they didn't play good football at all. They were very pedestrian. No nice sequences of play, and two of the goals were complete gifts.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was our own goal, and another one I think that is like it was like an offside trap was ruined or something. Like I can't remember the exact details, but I just remember for sure that we gifted them the second and third goal.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think people have very rose-tinted glasses on when it comes to these Euros and how good Turkey were, because there was, of course, I mean, this is the first time since 2008 that we had a good tournament, in the sense that we didn't completely get skull-fucked and, embarrassed. Because we got out of the groups, then we continued another game, and then we had a very hopeful match still against the Netherlands, because we weren't out of it yet. We could have maybe still salvaged something. We were in it, and we played really well the first half. But
we were better, man.
But yeah,
like, we were better than over that full 90 minutes, man. If you go from the first half and the 20 minutes at the end, like we were the better team, I think, overall.
Yeah,
and I'm sure from what I remember, the stats reflected that as well.
Yeah.
Like we were the better side.
Yeah,
we weren't against Austria though, and we weren't against the Czech Republic either.
Yeah, but we just gifted them the game in key moments, almost a little bit like Beşiktaş against Frankfurt. But that's the thing, right? Like, yeah, I think that's just the way it is, and we have to soldier on a little bit longer with Montella, and hopefully he gets us to the World Cup, and hopefully he starts being an absolute dickhead to Simi. Maybe this loss to Montenegro now has shown him that, oh, maybe I need to stop playing around and need to stop being a stubborn asshole. Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. Any other comments? I think that's it, right?
That's us, man. Do you want to wrap it up, bro?
Let's wrap it up. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And we'll be back, of course, on Monday with the post-Göztepe game. And then, of course, on Friday with the post-Maccabi match as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching this video, whether you're live or on delay. Thank you for joining us in the live chat. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Go check us out on patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast and become a Black Eagle VIP member for just $2 a month. Or starting on the 1st of December, we have a promotion, 75% off, so just 50 cents for your first month. Give it a chance. Check it out. become a Patreon member today or next month. Probably next month is probably best. So on the 1st of December that starts, and you can take advantage of that. And it will run until the 5th of January, so you have about a month, so you can still get your 7-day free trial, and then afterwards just extend for 50 cents. Other than that, I don't really have anything to add. We're going to have our Patreons and as we wrap it out. And Cathal, do you mind reading them out?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you just swap the page.
I will as soon as we want. Do you want to do the honors with taking us out, Cathal?
Yeah, man. So big game on Sunday, 4 o'clock GMT, 5 o'clock Central European time, and 7 o'clock in Turkey. Yeah, 7 p.m. in Turkey. Huge game on Sunday. We need to win if we want to push on and try and maybe get second this season. Have a nice night, folks, and remember, stay with Beşiktaş at all times, man. Special thanks to Özkan, Zazawachi, Atacan, Malik, Paul O'Connor, Nathan Davis, Dara Hennessy, London 2 and 3, Keith Gregory, and the Dutch Eagles for contributing to the podcast and being Patreons.